How do, and welcome to Liquid Football with myself, Tenacious G. We've got today with us Dazman, he's come back from being off sick, and Yorkie Man. And also we've got a special guest. We've got DanLN07 joining us. He's one of the pillars of the Liquid gaming community. So welcome in, Dan. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Looking forward to getting some discussions on Chelsea and everything else, of course, because obviously you're a Chelsea fan. What's it like being one?
Lots of ups and downs, that's for sure. Especially lately, wondering how Chelsea are going to be after spending. I've lost track how much we spent now this season. But being a Chelsea fan overall, I enjoy it.
You can't really complain, can you? The last 20 years or so, it's not been too bad, I guess.
No, it's been fairly good. We usually come away with a trophy. But yeah, I mean, you just can't seem to stick with a manager. That's the problem.
Well, let's just start with your history as a Chelsea fan. Some of your fonder memories being a Chelsea fan. I imagine the Abramovich era's been kind on you, hasn't it? It's been kind on you. If your biggest worry is, we don't keep managers, but we keep trophies in our cabinet, it's not too bad.
Yeah, so when was I a Chelsea fan? I probably started around the 95-96 year. That was towards the end of Hoddle's time when he went off to England. So that was when Ruud Gullit was taken over, and that is when the foreign superstars started to come in. The Zolas, the Vialis, Di Matteo.
Zola was so good, man.
I remember really quality players.
You know, that was a good time to be a Chelsea fan. And then as the years got on, we got towards... 2003, I believe it was, when Roman took us over. Mourinho came in, and then it was just spend.
Initially, when the takeover comes as a Chelsea fan, at that moment, could you anticipate what the future was going to be there for Chelsea? Because it has been rich since Abramovich has been there. Could you imagine at that moment when he stepped in and took over that you'd be looking at the kind of team that they built in that first time period of Mourinho being there? Because you had an unbelievable team with players like Robben. Gudjonsson was one of my favourite players for a while, and you just had a really strong side there. Did you imagine that was going to happen, or were you worried?
I wasn't worried, no. I mean, some of the signings that we were making were actually really quality signings. I mean, Joe Cole was one of the top players coming in from West Ham. Big fan of Joe Cole when he came in. We already had Lampard there. Terry was at the back. And then you get some unknown players like Gallas coming in. You might have heard of him, but he wasn't well known back then. And then, of course, I think it was the second season, you get Peter Cech coming in, and then Drogba's eventually coming in. And it's like, okay, what's going on? Where are we going with this? And Mourinho, unknown to me at the time, didn't know who he was. Not very well, anyway. But
I think everyone's introduction to Mourinho was Porto winning the Champions League, wasn't it? Until that moment, you didn't have a clue who the guy was.
Yeah, and him running down the pitch against Man United.
Yeah.
Yes, it was against Man United, yeah.
So, yeah, that's when you think about Mourinho and the signings he was making. I mean, the first signing we ever made under Roman was Glenn Johnson.
Not it was good for you as well, was Glenn Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, he was a good English right back.
Remember the biggest flop for me, will always be, and it makes me so sad because I loved him, Shevchenko. He came in for so much fun, and he just
30 million,
it was really sad because he was one of those, and I played a lot of Pez at that moment in time, so he was a beast on Pez. I remember watching him and just thinking, this guy is goals. And you signed him, and I thought, that is brilliant. He's going to rip the Premiership apart. It just never happened, did it? It was sad.
That's what you'd think, yeah, but no.
So you don't think Torres is the biggest flop?
Oh God, Torres.
Well, no, because Torres has one moment for me that stands out in my mind at Chelsea, Barcelona, which makes him all of a sudden a key member of that Chelsea team, and it's Barcelona when he scores that goal. And he may not have done masses for them, but the system that Chelsea played didn't suit Torres. The system that Liverpool played did. I mean, the main focus of that Liverpool side was get Torres the ball to score goals, and Chelsea just wasn't the same. But that one goal will always stick there in the history books of him doing that for Chelsea. And unfortunately, I don't think Shevchenko ever had a moment like that.
It still amazes me how far onside Torres was against Barcelona.
I know, it was such a good moment.
Where are they? Where's the Barcelona players?
See, I remember players like Tony Cascarino.
Before my time.
Showing your age now, Daz.
I know. There's some right players back then. Fleck and...
Gavin Peacock.
Hoddle were playing manager at the time.
You had Graham Lasso as well, didn't you?
Yeah, Graham Lasso was left back for him.
Weiss, I think.
Old head me.
I'm trying to think of who that bloody striker now for Chelsea.
I think the best striker Chelsea's ever had, and this is probably coming from my era, is Drogba for me.
Yeah. Unplayable, one at times.
Like the Bayern Munich Champions League final. Drogba just makes stuff happen.
So I've got two favourite players for Chelsea. They're not your obvious ones. Obviously, you've got your Terry, you've got your Lampard. They stand out as obvious ones. It's not Hazard, but obviously Drogba is one of them. He was just fantastic. And another one, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
The link with us there, really, yeah. Well, we didn't sell him. Yeah. We sold him to Atletico Madrid, and then they bought him from there. You know,
we brought him to the field.
I was such a big fan of him. He had so much power in his shots as well.
See the size of his thighs; they were fucking massive.
Yeah. And he had such a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say he had such a good partnership with Ida Johnson, who was also another good player, an unknown player, but he came in and just did superbly.
He won the best of players to meet.
Who, Jimmy?
What, Jimmy?
I know that first hand, Jimmy Floyd. That's why, he didn't like meeting fans. He didn't like talking to anybody like that. I don't know whether it was a case of he just kept himself to himself and wanted to be himself, but he would go nowhere near. I remember when Leeds flew back in from, I've even been Barcelona or somewhere, and he didn't get on the team coach. He got a private car about half an hour after the team had left. So as much as he was a great striker,
maybe he was running late.
Yeah, but that's one experience where you don't feel like he was good with the fans, but you don't know what he was going through. He might have been going through a rough patch where he just didn't want to see people. It doesn't mean he's always like that with the fans. Yeah. But those experiences do stick in fans' heads.
Yeah, but there again, I can think of other because I used to work in the airport in the bar, and they used to have the private lounge, and he never used to really. When they came in, they went up the escalators and to the left, and he was always with these two other guys. I don't know who they were. I don't know if they were translators or what, but they pretty much shielded him straight in, so that nobody could talk to him. So there were a couple of times when he experienced it, but as a striker, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Chelsea have got a long list of good strikers, aren't they, really, when you think about it? And some strikers there that kind of go, not like Anelka. There's a lot of players there that kind of slip under the radar because they've had that many good, talented strikers play at Chelsea. It's crazy when you think about it. Drogba's always one that sticks out in my mind, though, just because of what he did. And I think he did great things for the Ivory Coast as well.
Am I right in thinking he had Adrian Mutu and he got sacked off or something for doing drugs or something?
He was one of the early signings that they got in the Abramovich period. They had Demba Ba as well, famous goal against Liverpool.
We did.
I love Demba Ba. I thought he were brilliant, but I mean Chelsea fans will probably think differently. But I love Demba Ba. I thought he were great.
He was a good impact sub.
Yeah, definitely, and so strong and physical late in a game. He was difficult, a big handful, really. When you think about it, late in a game, having him come on is just not what you want if you're a back four.
One of the players I remember fondly about Chelsea was Gus Poyer.
Gus Poyer.
He was a player. Right player. I think I don't know if I'm wrong in saying this. I think it was the first Uruguayan to come to England, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I just remember him. He was just awesome, wasn't he?
He played with the likes of Deschamps and Desailly and
Desailly was brilliant.
What that defender now, Frank Leboeuf.
Yeah.
That was the time
penalty master
period that Zola was there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think because I remember I did a Chelsea career mode on FIFA 2003, and I had Gianfranco Zola and Francesco Totti up top, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, but
as a kid, I looked at they were superstars to me. Because they were foreign imports weren't as huge, really, especially the kind of players that they were, like flair, like Zola's flair was unbelievable. And I always loved Totti, and fair play to him, he stuck out at Roma, but I always loved Totti. And I think when you look at some of the players that Chelsea have managed to, I'm not going to say convince, but you do have to convince a player to come to your club. They've had some brilliant players over a good stretch of time, especially in my lifetime.
Torre Andre Flo were in the one.
Oh, yes. Quality. Played for us, didn't he, for a season or so?
Yeah, he didn't do right well.
Something.
Yeah, he was handy, wasn't he? So I suppose
players like Jody Morris, didn't he, as well? Though?
He played for Leeds as well.
But Jody Morris is one of them though that's still so high. Must have done really well because he was so highly liked. I mean, he's still part of Lampard's staff now, isn't he?
He's assistant manager.
He must have an impact, and he took him to Derby with him as well. So I think sometimes there's certain players that do slip under the radar like that. I had no clue that Moyes had Alan Irvine and Stuart Pearce as part of his team.
I think Pearce only joined this season. I think beginning of the season.
Yeah, but still, it's crazy.
Irvine's followed him around for a while, I think.
When I was growing up, I think Irvine was manager of Preston, and Pearce was manager of Man City.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was for a short time. Yeah. So I suppose shall we get into some scores? We'll start off with Chelsea against Palace because obviously Dan being a Chelsea fan. How did you see the game then, mate?
I loved it. I loved it. After the previous week.
I'll be mad at a 4-0, can you?
No. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't a perfect game, but it was a fantastic game in the second half. In the first half,
it was dull, wasn't it?
It was dull. I think there was like one opportunity for Werner. Otherwise, it was just rubbish. But in the second half...
Okay.
I'm going to say the second half, they came out, clearly had a good pep talk from Lampard, and they found the back of the net 4 times. It was great.
On that, it was interesting because when you look at the goal scorers and the amount of money you've spent on bringing in attacking players, it's really crazy to see. And I thought Chilwell had a really good game. I thought Chilwell had I don't know if it was his first start. He might have done a cup game maybe, but that was definitely his first Premiership start, wasn't it? And I thought he played fantastic. I thought he did really well. But I'm confused why Werner at this moment in time is struggling so much. I don't know if it's a settling, because he looks like he does it all right, everything right, but he just can't put it back at net.
This is the thing. I've watched him in every game so far this season, and in every game that I've seen him against Brighton, against Liverpool, he's been very lively. But then he came up against West Brom, he struggled. Came up against Palace this weekend, and he struggled. But I do believe he will find the back of the net and he will get his scoring boots on.
There's no doubt he's a handful, isn't he? He is a handful. You don't want him running at you.
Do you think
he had a
I'm going to say, do you think? Sorry, mate. Do you think? Like we had it a lot with Leeds last season, Championship teams clamming up, and obviously you've mentioned 2 teams that you'd expect to maybe to clam up. Do you think that's why he struggled?
I think it's the formation. Dan will have a different insight on the formation, but I watched quite a bit of German football last year, and Timo Werner played off a striker, off Yusuf Poulsen, and he was brilliant. And I really think, when I look at Chelsea, and this is where I think they're going to... I mean, Dan, you'll probably have a complete different opinion, but when I think of Chelsea and where they're going to struggle, it's how you fit all those attacking players you've got into this formation. At the minute, I see him playing 1 up top and 2 out wide. And for me, Havertz was always best in the centre for Bayer Leverkusen. Werner was better off a striker for Leipzig, and they're not playing the game that they're used to playing in Germany. Although the standout for me would be Mason Mount. I think he's been absolutely fantastic this season so far.
Started well, hasn't he?
Getting that Shaw advert must have given him a boost of confidence, because he's been unreal, in my opinion. He's dangerous, and it's great from an England fan perspective. But I'm just worried that Lampard is using the team that he's got wrong. And I worry when you've got players like Pulisic coming in, Hudson-Odoi. There's a lot of forward players there that you've got to get to work together, and you've got to convince to stay happy on the bench.
Of course, yeah. Lampard wants to play 4-2-3-1 with the number 10. And I think that's the role that we will see Havertz playing in quite regularly. But until we get Pulisic back fully fit, until we get Ziyech back fully fit, Havertz is going to sit in that role, and I think Werner is going to be playing out on one of them wings. Now, at the weekend, Hudson-Odoi was out on the right, and I was chuffed to bits. I thought he played really well. And I'm glad now as well that he's staying, because Bayern popped their noses up again and they were interested. And I was like, oh, not this again. And when I heard about the fee being mentioned in the loan deal, I was like, oh, God, they're going to go for it. Because 70 million.
It's a big chunk of cash.
Hard to turn
and
down.
I think how many wingers you've got at the club as well.
Well, yes, yeah, exactly.
You know, there's that as well. So,
but yeah, I think when we get Ziyech back, he'll be out on the right-hand side. You get Pulisic out on the left. Werner will be probably playing behind the striker because, like you said, Tammy will be up front. Giroud's the one that I worry about because he had a fantastic Project Restart, but I'm just not sure he's going to get much game time now.
So what about Havertz? I'm going to say Havertz. Where's he fit in then? Does he drop deeper?
In my eyes, he's a number 10, but I do believe for Leverkusen, he was playing out on the wings as well.
So
he did play some minutes out on the wing. I think his best position, like you say, was a number 10. That's when he was most impactful and most biggest handful. I worry you've got too many players going forward. I think Werner and Giroud would be a brilliant partnership. But then you've always got the question of, right, so Werner and Giroud is a partnership, but then we've got Havertz, we've got Pulisic coming back. We just signed Ziyech. And this is, I worry, and this would be hard for any manager, but especially someone who's so new to management still, how does he manage 8 or 9 forward-going players for 3 positions?
It's quite a puzzle, isn't it? Quite something he's got to figure out.
I can't work it out, but I'm a simpleton.
But one thing you can say is the strength in depth is unreal, isn't it, really?
But sometimes that's not always great, because if you've got an unhappy bench and an unhappy dressing room because they're not getting the game time they want, that can go opposite for you. It's all about the balance of having a happy bench and having that strength in depth. Liverpool have always done well with that, because I don't know how Klopp keeps Origi happy, but he seems to keep doing it, and Origi comes up and makes magic happen in big games like the Barcelona game and the Merseyside derby, where obviously it was a pick for mistake. But so you've got to keep those big names on the bench happy. And I just don't know. That is my one worry for Chelsea, is how do you keep all those egos going forward happy?
Good question. Something that he's going to have to figure out over time this season, isn't it? Can you imagine as well, though, if we'd kept Willian?
Oh, God, it'd be crazy.
It would be crazy. I mean, even with Willian leaving, I'm still not convinced we needed Havertz. But Lampard obviously thinks differently, so...
Well, I think maybe Lampard's been offered Havertz, and when your chairman or your director, I don't know how you do it, comes to you and says, we can get you Havertz, I would imagine that all of us would go, yeah, please, go on then. That sounds great. So
exactly.
I don't know how much of an input he might have had on the signings. Don't get me wrong, all the signings are brilliant. I was a little bit surprised at Ross Barkley going. With the mindset that Loftus-Cheek is going as well. That centre midfield position looks a bit better. There's been a lot of talk as well today with Jorginho, but I never thought that was going to come off, especially not to a London rival. But that centre midfield position seems like it could be weakened very quickly if there's some injuries.
Yeah, I mean, Barkley going out on loan, did not see that happening at all. Like you just said, I thought Loftus-Cheek was going to go because he needs the game time. He had a long-term injury, and when he came back fully fit, that's when the pandemic happened. So he couldn't really get going. So he needs game time. He needs another loan like Crystal Palace. So I would agree for him to go out, but Barkley I was not happy about because he is a good player to have around.
Especially when you see how well he did for Villa. It really shocked me that you let him go. Maybe, though, I was thinking in my head, it's got to be maybe registration. You can only register so many players, and Barkley probably would have been way down the pecking order of registration, especially when it came to any kind of European competition. Maybe that's why he was allowed to go out on loan, and they still keep hold of him.
Maybe. I mean, there is talks that Loftus-Cheek could be going to Fulham on loan.
Yeah, I saw that.
That might be a good move.
Then you would be really weak because Bakayoko's just gone as well. I'm not saying that they're wrong to let these players go. I just find it interesting that you're not going to have that many centre mids, like out and out as centre mid. You're going to have more offensive players. And hopefully, I mean, we've talked about this before, but the Liverpool game for me was really a letdown from my perspective as a fan of football. I think Chelsea, with all the attacking might, should have gone there and attacked Liverpool, just like Leeds did the week before and just like Villa have just done, because it shows when you put Liverpool under pressure and attack them, you cause them a lot of problems. You had some brilliant players that could have got in behind. I do worry with Lampard sometimes being a bit negative with tactics. I don't know, as a Chelsea fan, does him being a legend kind of cloud judgment a bit in a Chelsea fan's perspective of what's going on? Or do you think they're quite harsh with him?
Yeah, we're going to say that because I'd be interested to know from a Chelsea fan whether they actually believe that Lampard is going to take him to that next level. If you strip back, like Matt says, if you strip back the legendary status that he's got there, is he that, tactical genius that's going to get Chelsea up there? I don't know.
I hear what you're saying. So obviously he only had one season at Derby, so he's not proven himself. I mean, he had a very good season at Derby. Let's not be wrong.
No, he did. For his first year in management, he did a brilliant job.
Was it too soon for Chelsea though?
I
was happy.
I think everyone outside thought that. I think
sometimes he shows his immaturity as a manager. He did that at Derby. Obviously, as Leeds fans, we hated it, but he did it at Derby when he joined in the celebrations of crying your eyes out. It's a joke, but it's not respectable from a manager. You wouldn't see other top managers doing that. Could you ever imagine seeing Klopp or a Pep or just any of the top managers doing what? So I feel, and then his argument with Klopp on the sideline, the comments he made were, I know he was angry, but sometimes I just feel like he shows a little bit of his immaturity to being new to management that we don't see in someone like an Arteta, which is strange. It shows you different characters. But I know we've seen it in Steven Gerrard as well in the Scottish League. He's shown that as well. I just wonder sometimes is when you're at the pinnacle, which Chelsea should be a title challenging team, at least in the next couple of seasons. As a Chelsea fan, could you see that holding you back with him being there?
No, I'm firmly behind Lampard. I think he is the right manager for us. I think with his background, sure, it helps him settle into the club quite easy. I think he can take us places. Do I think we can win the league this season? No, not at all. Do I think we can challenge next season? Definitely.
I can get on board with that because sometimes I watch you play and I think he's nailed this. You're playing free-flowing football. It's attacking. It's very nice to watch. The team looked brilliant. There were loads of patches like that last season. And then other times I watch him play and I think, I don't understand what's happened. Like, why this is completely different to what I was expecting from you. And sometimes I just wonder if that's maybe his level of knowledge at this stage.
Well, what I don't like, something that he does, but I can understand why he probably does it, is he wants to control the midfield. So he plays his three probably defensive players that we have, and that's Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic. Personally, I don't like that because out of them three, I don't see who's going forward. They're all going to sit back. Kovacic doesn't really go forward. He just runs about the midfield. Kante just holds there, and Jorginho, I'm not his biggest fan.
Scores penalties.
But this is the problem, though. Jorginho would look far better if you had an offensive player next to him because the man is a brilliant passer of the ball and he does control the midfield. But you're never going to do that in a game of football and look like the best player on the pitch. But you need that in your club. I don't get why you wouldn't have Jorginho or Kante as a two because Kante is so great defensively and Jorginho is so great as a playmaker and a passer. And then maybe have Havertz ahead of those two.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
With either Werner up top or out wide and Tammy up top and then Ziyech on the right or Pulisic on the right. That's what and obviously Hudson-Odoi can come in and interchange as well. Not so many players that can interchange positions, but I find it weird. Like you say there, it is a tad negative because you're trying to control the midfield. Yeah. You take away some of your attack.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of when he plays them three. He did that against Brighton beginning of the season. He did it against Liverpool. I just don't like it. I want him to play the number 10. I want him to play the Havertz or the Mount. I'm happier with Jorginho and Kante or Kovacic being the two. Loftus-Cheek, in my opinion, should be in that too as well. Playing him as a number 10, that's a waste. I mean, sure, for corners, yeah, get him up because he's like up there. Get him up there for the corners, but play him in two next to Kante.
View him more as a box-to-box.
Yes. I'm not sure where he played for Crystal Palace when he went on loan because it was
he
that
played
loan.
he played in the centre. He played in that position of the two in the centre.
Because it was that loan experience that boosted him into the England squad.
Yeah.
So that's where he should be playing, in my opinion.
I think before the injury, a lot of people looked at him and thought he could be nailed on to be the next big midfielder for Chelsea and for England because he's powerful, he's quick, he offers you something that isn't just as a defensive role. He can charge forward. He's half decent on the ball as well. He kind of offers you a little bit more, but obviously, like you say, it's sometimes when you get injured, especially the way he did, it's hard to work your way back in then when you've got so many great players around you.
Yeah, I don't want to see him leave permanently. I still think he can make a name for himself at Chelsea. And a lot of people have got question marks over how long are we going to give him because he has been with us a few years.
What is he, 24, 25?
25, I think.
25,
He's been in the first team quite a bit now. So he should be established. If he's not established, he needs to move on. But this injury, I think, set him back. The pandemic set him back. So another loan move. I'm not sure if Fulham's the right move, but if he plays regularly, I'm happy with that. But I don't want to sell him permanently. I am a fan of his.
I'd say he's always looked good for England, hasn't he? So, and then we've got any thoughts on Palace and where it went wrong for them, because they had a really good start to the season.
Just a bad day at the office.
Can someone tell me, was Sahar even in the game?
I didn't notice that there was absolutely next to not. To be honest with you, there weren't really any highlights for Palace.
No.
Because I watched the game while doing some bits, so I rewatched the highlights, and there wasn't really much in the way of Palace, and Chelsea did. Although to be fair, that first half there weren't much in the way of highlights.
No,
so that, that's the scenario. But I think in general, they just didn't turn up. They just weren't a good game. They looked so good so far. I think as soon as that first goal went in, they kind of just seemed to collapse. And the defence were absolutely shocking in that second half.
They were.
Those 2 penalties.
Sacco. Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be the experienced one.
Yeah.
They're not a team I rate. I don't think, like I say, I think they'll be milling around the bottom of the table. And I'd expect teams like Chelsea to bang 4 past them. I'd expect Liverpool to do the same. Arsenal maybe.
I think I'd have said opposite, because I feel like they're always so well organised. I'd expect Chelsea to beat them, but not comfortably.
Yeah, I expected a big score at that one, to be fair. Especially after the money Chelsea spent. I kind of expected it.
Well, it's funny you say about teams like Liverpool expected to score 4 past Palace. We're going to move on to Villa against Liverpool. Who the hell saw this scoreline coming? Here he comes again. He's calling it bullshit.
Me and Matt talked about it the other night. We said it was going to be
7-2, and it could have been more.
Definitely put 7 past. It should have been more.
It could have been more. It should have been at least 10, really.
Easily could have gone into double figures for Villa.
So what went wrong for Liverpool?
What did happen?
They got found out, didn't they?
Well, Adrian Ringo, wasn't it, that first thing? And then no. I've always said I think of the 3 up front, Man is the most important. Obviously, COVID's taken effect on him. He's missed the game, and for me, that and Adrian.
It's hard to pick apart the 2 up front, the players up front, because they still did score 2 goals.
Yeah.
I think what you've got to pick apart is that defence, the high line. Which for the entire 90 minutes did they keep the high fucking line? You're getting done over the top. You're getting done in behind consistently. Why are you still playing a high line? Just take a smaller result.
Do you think? Do you think that's what it was? They were just trying to keep attacking.
Liverpool play, and we're learning this season definitely. Liverpool play, and they kind of try and put you under so much pressure and play so high up the pitch that you can't get out your own half. And this is how they try and play. And Villa knew that, so they tried to play in behind. And they've got some quick players, they've got some decent players. I know fucking Daz hates Grealish, but he was brilliant.
He was awesome,
and they got in behind consistently with bloody Ollie Watkins, who I said were going to be crap this year because I see him as a winger and not a striker. And he scored an hat-trick and should have had 4 when he hit the crossbar. But they just beat Liverpool at their own game, and Liverpool just didn't change. The keeper made a mistake, which is fair enough, but what's the excuse for the rest of the games? Because they kept getting carved open, time and time again, defensively carved open. It sounds terrible, but you've got to put that one on the manager.
Gomez
Why
had a
are
mare
you
though as
still
well.
playing the high line? Yeah, but the high line, they were struggling to catch them offside. They really were. And you could see, and Gomez was struggling like mad to try and catch Watkins offside. So the ball over the top just kept coming through. They couldn't handle Barkley. They couldn't handle Grealish. They couldn't handle Watkins. And Villa put them on the back foot. And every time we've seen a team attack Liverpool this season, it's not gone well for them. Leeds should have done better. And now we've seen what happens when Villa do it. So everyone's going to go at Liverpool this year if they want to.
The thing that's going to really pain Daz is Grealish absolutely destroyed Van Dijk with a bit of skill. It's been on social media. I don't know if you saw it. Just turns it inside, outside, and then knocks it to his legs.
Grealish was just brilliant.
He was
absolutely outstanding. If he weren't banging on the door for England,
it's coming his ears.
He's got his earphones and he's just going to wear it loud. He's got to be banging on the door. That Grealish was unbelievable in that game. Barkley and Watkins were 2. Don't get me wrong. The entire Villa team deserved the pat on the back. Not saying, Liverpool were rubbish. Because Villa turned up and did a job on them.
There was an element of luck, though, wasn't there, with the deflections and stuff? I mean,
Well, if you don't shoot, you don't. Yeah, but there was an element of luck for Liverpool where Villa didn't score when they should have done.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I suppose it balances out in that regard. So what next for Liverpool then? Because obviously they're without Alisson for I think it's 4 to 6 weeks.
They'll go back to doing what they do, and they'll go back to winning games again. It's as simple as that. I still believe Liverpool will win this league quite easily again.
Yeah, it's an anomaly.
Yeah. What we often
Klopp will look at that and probably go, bloody hell, lad, 7 goals in 1 game. Go on, off you go. See you in training.
He handled it well.
Everton have been complaining, saying to Boris, instead of like 7 in, instead of having fucking 6. That's a shit joke, but anyway, what are your thoughts anyway, Dan?
It is a one-off game. They will come back strong. But something that I've always said, it doesn't matter what team you are, whether you're Madrid, Barca, Juventus, no matter who you are winning titles, every season you need to strengthen your team. Sure, they brought in Thiago, they brought in Jota, and they brought in a Greek left-back.
I think he got Corona as well.
Gomez, good defender, but I think you need someone stronger next to Van Dijk.
I think the problem is with that, and we've seen this with Klopp, is look how long he waited to get Van Dijk because he wanted his man.
True.
And the big question would be, is at this stage and in this market with the money that Liverpool have, who would they have got? And that's the question I always like to ask. We talked about it with Chelsea last weekend with who they should have got. Who do you get for a centre-back? And I said, there's no one you can get, and you've got too many centre-backs already.
Yep.
So the same would go for Liverpool. I agree they needed another centre-back. But when you think about it, it's easy to say, oh, they needed another centre-back. But I don't know who they'd have got. And I don't know who they'd have got for the price that Liverpool can afford right now because they're not flourishing. They haven't got tons of cash like a Man City. So they do have to make calculated signings, which Thiago and Jota certainly were. And I think will be brilliant for Liverpool. But I don't know who they'd have gone and got as a centre-back. If I think about it, I don't know who they'd have managed to pick up that would have fit their style and that would have worked in the team this year better than Van Dijk and Gomez. We know they've just had an absolute mare, but let's be honest, they had the best defensive record last season.
True.
So it's who do you put in that centre-back position that improves them, that they can actually realistically go and get. And I think the way the market is, just unfortunate that there isn't anyone at this moment in time.
It's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Because normally, there was someone out there, but like you were saying, probably paying mega money, aren't you? I suppose these days. For
Diaz probably would have been good for him.
65 million. Would that have been too much for him?
Too much for him. Definitely too much for him. Diaz or Ake would have been, in my opinion, fairly decent for them. But 65 million is way too much for Liverpool this season. They've come out and said they don't have a lot of money to spend. What was it? 35 on Jota and 20 on Thiago.
25, I think, rising up to 25. I think it was.
So they're not spending big money out there, and they've plugged as many gaps as they can. They probably need a better second-string goalkeeper, to be fair, than...
It was third choice, Andy Lonergan. Is he still there?
Kelleher.
Kelleher.
Kelleher. And I'd have rather seen him get given an opportunity than seeing Adrian. There's some positional issues, but I mean, at the end of the day, they have the strongest defence out. And I put half of that in my fantasy team, and I got minuses. So
there's no excuses there, really. When you've got the best defence.
Bad day at the office, wasn't it? It was just surprising that they didn't switch stuff up halfway through the game and go, do you know what? We'll take 4-2, try and eke a couple more goals back, but we'll tighten things up. But they didn't. They just didn't change tactically the entire game. And that's why 7 got put in.
What was it? At half-time, he made his change. He brought on Minamino. Now, that's one player.
For his centre mid.
Yeah, I still don't understand his purpose at Liverpool.
Okay. I feel sorry for him.
I don't know if this is right, but it's potentially to bring extra revenue in from Asia. Nice. A big player. He's a big player in Japan, isn't he? So
he is.
Kind of like when we got that I forgot his name at that midfielder, Ichiguchi. Idiguchi, I think it was.
But you still don't sign him unless not a Premiership winning side unless you think he's going to fit in the team.
Oh yeah, you don't just get for no reason, but he's going to have some ability in it. And don't forget, he's young. So
he was brilliant at Red Bull.
That's what I mean.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
But he's not at the level as Firmino on that, is he? And people like that. No one is.
He's never going to be at that level if he never plays. And when he does play, he gets minimum minutes and gets ripped apart. So what's the lad got to do? I guarantee if he left Liverpool and went somewhere else where he's left to do his job and play football consistently, he'd be talked again as a great player, and that's why they signed him. But it's just he's not athletic the same as a Mane or a Salah. So when you do play him out right or left, that's not his position whatsoever. If anything, he's probably better playing off a striker. But unfortunately, we see it time and time again. Sometimes players are signed that don't fit a system, and he definitely doesn't fit in. It's unfortunate for him, but he just doesn't fit in, especially not with their philosophy.
Yeah, 100%. So you touched on a bad day at the office. Another team that had a bad day at the office. I'm going to probably take... I can see Daz already chuckling. Man United lost 6-1 at home to Spurs. And one thing I saw, or the one thing I didn't see, was, especially on Sky Sports, any praise for Spurs whatsoever. It was all about Man United being poor. But go on, guys.
They did praise Spurs. The problem is you've got Patrice Evra on, haven't you? Who's going to talk about Man United, and that's what he's there for, and he's going to talk negatively about Man United. But they did praise Spurs. And if we're being honest, they both should have been down to 10 men.
Yeah.
If Martial goes, which he should have gone because you can't hit out, Lamela should have gone too. They should have both been down to 10 men. But it was Man United being Man United. What we've seen all season so far, they got away with one at Brighton. They're going out there. They've got the worst transfer... it's great being a Leeds fan because you can laugh at it, but in terms of a football club that is supposed to be a staple of the Premiership and be a team that is one of the most successful English sides... They're a running joke. They're an absolute joke. The signings they've made this season, Van Der Beek can't get on the bloody pitch, and when he comes on, you take off Bruno. Off Bruno and leave bloody Pogba on the pitch.
Now, I'm glad we got onto this Bruno substitution. Apparently, because that was done at half-time, is that right?
Yeah.
Reason is, because I've seen some rumours flying about Twitter in the last hour or two, that he's had a massive bust-up with Harry Maguire saying that he's not fit to wear the shirt. They had a massive bust-up.
That could just be it. That could be me saying that.
Even if that's just Twitter talk, I want that man on the pitch.
Yeah.
If he's having a bust-up because he thinks they're not fucking working hard enough, that's the man I want staying on pitch because he's going to give 100%.
Well, this is Ollie, world's best manager. I mean, it must be
it's
something.
not all Ollie's fault. Let's be honest.
You can't blame Ollie for Harry Maguire to be tackling Luke Shaw, fouling him.
Look,
I blame every single one of them players, managers, staff, everything. They're crap, and it's great.
Their transfer policy is a joke. They spent half a season trying to convince the world that they were going to get Sancho when people who had any kind of mindset who wasn't a Man United fan knew you weren't getting him after you wouldn't pay the fee because you thought that you could bully Dortmund into getting him for cheaper, and they put the foot down and went, not here, lads, he's got 3 years left. You pay 120 or you're not having him. And look, they didn't get him, and look who they're going for now. Absolute Cavani. He's been out of contract for about 6 months. Are you telling me that he was the plan? They never replaced Lukaku. Get it, Man United fans didn't like Lukaku, not a problem. He scored 36 goals last season for Inter Milan. You never replaced Lukaku, and you spent most of your time on a right winger. Now you're about to get an 18-year-old kid as your right winger, he's going to be fantastic, isn't he, from the get-go? Because you couldn't convince Dembele to come even. You couldn't convince the guy that spent half his time on the injury list to come to the team and play for you. Poor Tellas has got to go in there at left-back. He's going to have a dreadful time, isn't he, playing in that defence? You haven't signed a centre-back, the number one position you should be signing for. The team's a shambles. It's a shocking. It's the worst I've ever seen Man United. And it's brilliant. It is brilliant. But I cannot believe that a club of their level, with their kind of transfer nous, or lack of, by the obvious, has spent the amount of money they've spent since Fergie's been there and won bum fuck all. They've won absolutely barely anything. And now when you look back at it, all the time that people were slagging off Mourinho for what he couldn't do with Man United, do you bloody blame him now? I look at Mourinho now and think, mate, you had it fucking hard there because your name got dragged through the mud at Man United because you couldn't win stuff. And he said it was a big achievement finishing second with the squad he had.
And winning Europa League.
God, it was. what he managed to do with that team he had. So Man United are in trouble, and I tell you, they ain't getting out of that Champions League group. They are not getting out of that Champions League group. You are screwed against Red Bull and PSG, lads. You know, I know PSG are going to struggle. They've just lost Choupo-Moting, so they're going to have a few problems. But you ain't getting out of that group. Man United fans are in for a rough season.
They ain't getting in the Champions League for seasons now. They can forget it. Everton, Tottenham.
They need a striker. There's Braithwaite out there. Go and get bloody Braithwaite. It'll be better than what you got. You've got a Gallo and a couple of wingers that play up top. And now you've got Cavani, who scored 7 goals last season. But you let Lukaku go, who scored 36. But Man United fans hated Lukaku. He were crap. He were lazy. He were crap. Look at the team that he were playing in.
I mean, obviously, Dan, we're Leeds fans, so this is perfect for us to see them get Amsterdam. And I mean, are you one of these Chelsea fans that can't stand Man United, or where do you sit on this fence of hate?
Well, we're non-biased.
Fence of hate.
In my youth, I was a Man United fan.
What?
In my youth.
No, I can see that, because if you think about it, when you're growing up and you look at the Man United that were in the European competitions and they were on bog standard TV a lot, if you didn't have someone in your family going, you come and watch games with me and support this team, I imagine a lot of kids grew up Man United fans because of how readily available they were on TV. I bet, like, the Liverpool game in Istanbul will have made a lot of Liverpool fans out of kids that don't get to watch football as often. It'll be the same with Man United in some of their European, the treble winning season and stuff like that, having players like Beckham. Half the England squad used to play for Man United.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dan.
So why did you transition then?
Well, I got to my teens and I'm like, me and my friend, we were both supporting Man United in our youth, and we were like, why are we supporting Man United? We'd never even been to Manchester. So it was all about Beckham coming through. I mean, Yorkie, you've seen that bad picture of me in my youth. I had curtains. I thought I was Beckham back then.
I loved Beckham. It was hard as a Leeds fan to love Beckham, but I loved him.
You go out on the football pitch and, oh, yeah, I can curl a free kick in like Beckham. Yeah, I've got the hair. I've got everything. No. But growing up, it's like, well, I've got a Sport of London team. I'm in the south. And that's where Chelsea came.
Fair enough. So, and then it went hand in hand with winning trophies in the 2000s.
It just arrived at Chelsea when they started winning the trophies.
So,
can I just add as well,
go on,
in this United game, Luke Shaw, he should have been sent off.
Yes, he should.
Definitely a red card. Weren't even looking at the ball.
No,
he went through the man behind him. It was so cynical.
Yeah.
He looked at the player. He actually looked at him and thought,
as if to say, I'm going to take you out. Yeah,
I'm going to actually take your legs away. Hang on, how big are they? Yeah, I'll do it now. Bang.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I will say. I mean, we touched on it last week, Yorkie. But basically...
one sec. Who's got the pod on him? Who's got us on in background?
And I think because whenever you speak, his thing goes green.
What are you listening to us through, Dan?
What do you mean?
There's an echo.
Is there?
Yeah. Not of you, of us.
Oh, okay.
Because I can see when you talk. It's not when I talk.
When I talk, for instance, you can see
Yeah,
it green. It lights up, yeah.
I've just joined the Discord call that you asked me to. I haven't clicked anything else.
What does the sound come through for you?
Does it come out of a speaker? When we talk, does it come out of a speaker or does it come through your headphones?
It's in my iMac, so the speaker's built in.
All right, I see.
But when you're listening to it, does it come out of that speaker or your earphones?
I can hear you in my earphones.
It's weird.
That's weird, isn't it?
I mean,
It's only
occasionally
you get
as
like
well.
a little bit of an echo.
no, it's all right on my end.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was coming through your speakers as well, and that's why you were getting the feedback through the whatchamacallit. That's fine.
Not to worry. So yeah, I think we touched on it before about common sense, because there hasn't been much controversy this week. Surprised a bit, because they've done something with the rule,
They changed the rule,
ball.
haven't they?
So that's why. But in this, I thought that the yellow card should have come out for both Martial and Lamella, because they've not. It's like a little tap on his face. It's sort of like
Doesn't matter.
he's cracked him one or like that.
Doesn't matter.
You
Though.
know.
Yeah,
It's the intent. It's all based on intent.
So
and
how come they
Martial-
didn't go to VAR and then look at Lamella's,
Well,
who in
they
my
should've-
eyes were worse?
The argument is Lamella shouldn't have done what he did, but I suppose there is an argument for Lamella you're jostling in the box, and when you watch him, he doesn't just hit him in the face.
Right.
He puts his arm into his body, and his arm comes up and hits him in the neck.
Well, yeah, but
so
still.
So Lamela doesn't just hit him in the face. So that would be the argument for that. I think both should have gone. But there's no way, shape, or form you can do that. Martial just can't do it. No matter how hard you hit him and how much of an idiot he acts on the floor, Martial's a moron for hitting him in the first place. No matter how hard you hit him, the intent was there.
I mean, you're right, because you think back to my earliest memory of a fairy tap, if you want to call it, is Beckham in 1998 on Diego Simeone. Little flick of his leg onto the back of his calf. And he went down rolling like he'd been shot by a sniper straight in his fucking chest. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know, you find it's getting a bit daft sometimes, like, you know, how it used to be. I know the game's changing. And arguably for the better, I guess. But it's just when it's just like a little tap and he's going down holding his face, you're thinking, "Come on, man!" He's done that. It's basically tickled your chin, and you've gone down like holding your face.
The theatrics is you know it's ridiculous, and you don't like that.
And that's why I think that should come into account as well. When you're looking in VAR,
that probably makes you hate it more. But at the end of the day, you can't put your hands on another player in the way that Martial did. No matter how hard he hits him. He hits him. Yeah. And as a player, you know full well you can't do that. You know you can't. And you know now you can't get away with it. You know that one for sure. You can't get away with a cheeky knock. So, if anything, it's petulant from him. So early still in the game, when the game is still in the balance. It was 2-1, wasn't it, when it happened?
I think so, yeah.
So, It was just ridiculous from him. And his team was struggling. And it made it even worse for them because they were struggling. You know, Spurs were firing on all cylinders. They looked unbelievable.
Awesome.
I absolutely love
awesome.
Son's brilliant.
And they were really firing going forward. You could tell they were up for the game and they were going to cause them problems. But it just makes you think you're just doing your team no favours there, Martial. You really are. Now you're the talking point because you lashed out. And you just can't do that anymore in football. And you're not going to get away with it. And he didn't.
I think the performance was a talking point, though. A lot of criticism, especially, like you said, from Patrice Evra.
He can't defend.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just shocking. Like you say, Harry Maguire, like I said, fouled Luke Shaw. But before that, just like headed it up into air. I mean, what was he even thinking? He's supposed to be the leader at the back of defence, organising it all. And he looks like a Sunday League player. What has happened to him? Because he were awesome a couple of years ago.
I think he had a bad game. He weren't bad in his first season for Man United, to be fair to him. He did make Man United definitely more secure at the back. But what really worries me is I feel like Man United are becoming a team that ruins players. We talked about Smalling earlier, and we all think, oh, Smalling's crap, he's rubbish. Anyone who's a Roma fan will tell you Smalling was a key part of their season last year and was fantastic for them. So why can he go there and do that for Roma in a league that is still arguably extremely good with some fantastic teams in that league? Why can he go there and do that for Roma, but can't wait to get himself out of Man United to go back to Roma to be part of that again? And Man United are stuck there with Harry Maguire and Lindelof, who just cannot defend for toffee. And everyone would slag Smalling off because of how terrible he is as a defender. Oh, he can't defend, he's rubbish. Well, it didn't look like that when he was playing for Roma.
Well, I said this last night. Smalling is the only Manchester United defender who's actually come off of a season with any form.
Yeah.
He was brilliant for Roma. They loved him in Roma. Yeah. They really wanted him back. They pushed extremely hard today to get the deal done because their window shut at 7 o'clock, our time. And they only got it in the last minute. And they paid Man United what they wanted. So it just makes you think if they really wanted that centre-back so much, and Roma aren't a small club.
No.
You know, you might say they are compared to Man United, but they're not. What is going on at Man United that makes us think that a player like him is so bad? And are we going to start doing that now for players like Maguire and other players who we don't rate all of a sudden? Lukaku, all of a sudden, Lukaku was a crap striker in the space of one season. And now he's gone to Inter Milan. He can't stop getting plaudits. He's banging goals in for fun. So what is going on at Man United that makes these players all of a sudden crap players?
I guess only people behind the scenes will know. I mean, I bet Mourinho were loving it, wasn't he? You could see a little smile for him every now and again, couldn't you? Absolutely, absolutely loving it. Probably didn't want it to end.
Could I just touch on Martial as well?
Yeah.
Because he got a straight red. So that's now 3 games he's out.
Yeah.
Man United's next few games, Newcastle, PSG, Chelsea, Leipzig, Arsenal.
Bloody hell. Well, it'd be able to play in the European games, won't it? But it's...
The argument would be is the new players coming in, but he'll definitely be a big loss.
That's if it goes. It hasn't gone through yet, this Cavani deal. Yeah, I don't think.
I wouldn't.
It doesn't matter. It's a free transfer. It can go through whenever they want it to go.
All right. Oh, sorry. I thought because it was international based.
No, free transfer you can do at any time at season.
Right, fair dues then.
I wouldn't be surprised as well if they sign Cavani and he's out for the next month getting match fitness.
Well, he's not going to have any, is he? Because he's been. I imagine he's still physically fit, but he won't have any match fitness.
They should have gone back in for Ibra.
They're in trouble, aren't they? We all know
massively.
And it's not the deals that they're making today. They should have been making before the season started. They've gone for a couple of young wingers, Telas, who don't get me wrong, I do rate, but he's only played once for Brazil. He's not exactly top class left back. We all rate him because we used him on FM. Let's be honest, it clouds your judgment. He's brilliant on FM, so we think, he's a cracking player. But we don't know how good he's going to be for them, especially not in that bloody back line. So these are signings they should have made before we were coming to the window shutting. And they've definitely probably had the worst window so far.
Oh, it's the worst one probably in their history since the worst actual window since the start of the window. I believe, because they haven't been around forever.
Probably the worst one was when Mourinho was there the season he got sacked and he wanted a centre-back, and I think they ended up signing no one.
No one at all.
Because they weren't willing to spend any money, and Mourinho wanted Maguire.
Well, only team that I remember not buying anyone in at all was Spurs of the year.
Liverpool have done it before as well.
No, they brought one or 2 cheap players, but no one whatsoever. That's what
Liverpool did that. But that was the Champions League season as well, wasn't it? They got to the final, were it?
It was there, to be fair. But I know that it was a big talking point saying if you want to improve, you need to strengthen. You need to get better than what you get. Better than what you've got. You don't want to just get more of the same, which is what they argue at the minute about Van Der Beek. They're saying that he's a similar sort of player to your Pogba, who's always going to play ahead of him. And then whether you're not going to play both him and him and Van Beek and Fernandes together. He said it's not like a FIFA team. You're going to go for a defensive stability sort of player. Matic.
Donnie Van Der Beek is a great signing in the grand scheme of things because of how young he is and the pedigree he comes in, and 45 million isn't a ridiculous fee for him. I think he's highlighted as one that you're like, why have you signed him? Because they didn't sign other players.
Yeah.
And that's probably why. But I think in the grand scheme of Manchester United's future, he's actually a really good player because now you do have the bargaining chip of if Pogba were to go, you still got Van Der Beek and Bruno Fernandes there, and there's still those options. I think the problem is Man United should have sold to Real Madrid when Pogba's stock was still high. You wouldn't get anywhere near what they paid for him now.
No, I agree with that. So moving on to the next game, which was seen as a big shock to start off with. It ended up being the result of the weekend for call it the big 2-3, whatever. Man City against Leeds. Sorry, Leeds against Man City. Put it down wrong. But yeah, 1-1. And first 20 minutes, boys, it was looking bad, wasn't it?
No, but if you watch Leeds closely, for the first 20 minutes of every game is always where Bielsa sits there thinking, right, who do I need to put in that left wing striker, come right wing, come defensive midfielder position? Because nobody has positions at Leeds, let's be honest. Bielsa tells them where to go and they go. But the main thing is that they've spent millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of pounds on players, and they've got some of the best players in the world. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne as a midfielder, I don't care who you are, he goes in any team. You throw at me. I don't care who you are. That midfield walked through Leeds for a certain point. And like Philip said afterwards, they gave them too much respect. And you can't do that with Man City because they just do not want to respect anyone. They want to win, and then the respect comes later. I thought, I said before the game we'd get a draw out of it. I was confident because I know the lads battle, and I know that they're always up for a fight. and that's what Man City got. They came and they thought that they could. I don't know if Man City have this attitude now, if they can come and beat anybody on the day, because I don't think they can. I think Leeds have proved it now that you can't just turn up at a team, and certainly, like, everyone thought Liverpool were going to beat Villa. Villa turned up and went, no, you're not. But we're going to have it our way for a bit. And I thought at times we were the better team, and I thought at times they were the better team. I thought at times I did actually wonder where Phillips and Click were, because I didn't know if they'd gone out wide, because that midfield was non-existent at certain points. But overall, I thought it were a fair enough result, apart from the fact that we missed three possible one-on-ones that we could have put away. But I was more than happy with lads, more than happy with tactics. Great result for Leeds. Bad result for Man City, if you want to put it their way. And on to the next one for us.
I was happy when Man City scored.
Yeah, because it meant we had to...
I felt like in my head, as soon as... And I said it while I was watching the game, as soon as Man City would score, I felt they were going to ease off the gas a bit.
That's what
and I knew as soon as they eased off that gas, that's when they were going to be up for the taking. And I think we all knew before the start of the game, Mendy was, in our eyes, get at Mendy, because they had a good centre-back partnership for this one. So in everybody's eyes, it was going to be that position. Get at Mendy, and good old Ian absolutely tore him a new one. He had to come off because
he did have been on 15 minutes.
Yeah, a Man City Academy player comes on the pitch for Leeds, and Mendy has to go off because he's running him absolutely ragged. It was, as a Leeds fan, in this day and age, you know what to expect from the team. It's never going to be over until it's over. We're going to run like madmen for 90 minutes, and you can be damn sure it's going to be wide open of a game of football. For a 1-1, it was one of the most entertaining 1-1s there's probably ever been in football. There was that much going on in that game. As you said, though, Daz, the only upsetting part is that we just didn't get that little icing on the cake, which I think, in the grand scheme of the end of the game, we had more possession than Manchester City.
Again.
Yeah, we did.
They did have more chances, that's fine, but we had more possession than Manchester City. No, because the chances were all at the start of the game in reality. The big chances were all at the start of the game, and as soon as they got the goal, there was no doubt in my mind, as soon as they got a goal, they were going to calm off a little bit, because they were going absolutely 1,000,000% from the whistle going, and we could barely get a look in. And as soon as they got that goal, they started to sit off a bit, and we started getting in the game. And that's as soon as we started to see the holes in Man City's defence. Delas had that chance. Ayling had that chance, which he was unlucky with. Edison did some brilliant saves, to be fair.
The header from Rodrigo.
I don't know with the Bamford one, because I think he was probably offside. He did go clean through and should have scored it, and then we would have found out if he was offside or not.
Yeah.
But it did look like he was offside. But again, when you look at it, all you can take for a Leeds fan is positives. Pavard came on and looked unbelievable. Rodrigo came on and looked exactly like the man we wanted to sign.
He's getting there,
you can tell game by game his fitness levels are going up. And he came on the pitch and he made shit happen. He had a few good opportunities as well to score more than just one for him. And, you know, it's a continuation this season. It'll be interesting to see what Dan thinks, because we've watched Leeds for years, and we've watched Leeds now under Bielsa for ages. We know what we're going to get when we watch a Leeds game. You know, it's not always going to be easy for us, but we know what we're going to get and what we expect. Be interesting to see from Dan's perspective, who probably didn't see much of Leeds, and a lot of fans who we've spoken to haven't seen much of Leeds and have been nothing but surprised at how we've played. Interesting to see his take on how we fed and how the game went.
Right, watching this game, seeing Sterling go 1-0 up, I'm thinking, okay, this is the Man City that we know. They're going to go on and score a couple now. And Sterling should have. He was put through for a second. And I'm thinking, here we go. Here's number 2. He didn't want to use his left foot. I'm thinking, you're the main striker and you're put through. Use your left foot. Don't try and get it onto your right foot. Just use your left foot. Because I don't know about your keeper, and I'm going to come back to this a bit later on. So I've got a question for you guys. I don't know how good your keeper is and whether Sterling's going to be able to hit that enough with his left foot. But he should have given it a chance. He didn't. Ayling, with that chance that he did at the other end, I'm thinking this is the Leeds right back, and he's got that composure to run at the Man City defence.
They took it left foot.
But before he did that, I don't know who the sliding player in. It might have been Diaz. I don't know.
No, it was Laporte. I noticed it. I noticed this.
Yeah, Laporte comes sliding in, and he just stops it. And it's like, this is the Leeds right back.
His quality is alien, honestly.
And
His composure was unbelievable.
It was amazing. I'm thinking it's just a shame he couldn't finish it off. And then at half time, you see that kid coming on, and I'm thinking, what's he thinking here?
Yeah.
So I know he's come from Man City. I don't think he's played much for you.
Mainly
So
sub appearances.
He's always been a sub, really. He's always been a sub for us.
So the only thing that I'm thinking is, because I don't know whether it was Pep that sold him, but I'm thinking maybe City don't know enough about him.
Pep told him to come to Leeds and train under Bielsa.
Oh, well. Well, I thought that was a very good change because instantly he was down that right wing and he was producing the goods, and I thought he was a quality change. So I was quite impressed with that. But the second half, you bossed that game.
To a point.
The first half you were lucky, but the second half I thought you were very, very impressive. And you could tell that Man City were worrying because they were bringing on the big guns. Fernandinho was coming on. Then you brought Aki on. I mean, Mendy is just shocking at left back anyway. I mean, I can't believe that's the same left back that was at the Monaco team. I mean,
been through a lot of injuries, hasn't he? To be fair, but
he has. But something else that I noticed as well is Jamie Redknapp the other day. He was saying how Pep spent this amount of money on defenders, the wing backs, everything, but they still haven't got an Aguero replacement. And Jesus is out injured, but I still don't think he is the replacement. So you're playing Sterling as your number 9. But I don't think Sterling's good enough to do that role. Thuran's a youngster playing out on the right. He's going to need time to settle. De Bruyne didn't look himself. De Bruyne is struggling a bit, I think. Although he did hit the post. Fair play. He caught your keeper off guard there.
He looked frustrated though, didn't he? He looked really frustrated. Every time he had an opportunity or took a shot, if it was blocked, and like you say, when he hit the post, his body language afterwards, he looked really frustrated.
I think that boils down to sometimes that some of these players, I mean, De Bruyne is one of the best players in the Premier League, no doubt, but I think some of them believe that when they go to a team like West Brom, Leeds, Southampton, I think they believe they have the God-given right to score a screamer or whatever. And when you get a team like us, I mean, like you said, Matt, we know it, we've seen it week in, week out. When you've got players like Dallas that are on the line, we cleared a shot off the line, that was Dallas. You know, Click wanting it at the start, but then he started shadowing a bit more on De Bruyne, and every time De Bruyne got it, he was like that little wasp in his ear, and you could see, like you say, you could see him getting stressed, and it's just a case of maybe these players need to learn that you can't do that anymore. There's teams out there that aren't going to be bullied.
We played a championship squad.
Yeah.
Apart from Robin Koch, we played a championship squad against Manchester City after just being promoted, and we took them right to the end. And we managed to get a point.
And we were unlucky not to win as well.
And it's just, it really does. Every time I look up the lineup and we talk about players, and you talk about your Dallas and your Click and your Bamford and it just seems
mind-boggling, isn't it?
A crazy reality that we're in. That these players are on a team sheet, and we still do what we do. It takes me. Every game I've watched this season is just. You can't put it into words. It's been unbelievable. I've not got to experience this in my lifetime. So this is just, it's magical every time I watch us play. I love it. It's fantastic.
I mean, the one thing you've got to remember as well is the Man City goal came from a catalogue of errors. The keeper's pick was pathetic.
He got a bit unlucky with it bouncing off Mendy, didn't he, to be fair to him?
You know what I mean?
He got a bit unlucky with it bouncing straight off Mendy.
Somebody missed so much straight after that. And then Cooper... Well, God knows what he was.
He came and slipped at the same time, didn't he?
Like somebody put some freestyle music on it, and they were like, hey, let's have a go, let's spin on our back. He were gone. And I don't think the keeper could have saved it, to be fair. What a good finish by Tom Daly. I mean, Sterling. I've got to remember. Because he did turn into Tom Daly later on in the game, let's be honest, because Man City towards the end of the game, it's something I noticed, tried for penalties. It was a really bad way of playing football. And it really wound me up to that. I mean, you know my feelings on Grealish because of his Tom Daly-esque. Sterling's exactly the same, whether it's for England or Man City.
I think he had two, didn't he?
Yeah, two. Well, one of them were handball from Leif Davis, wasn't it? And last week, That'd have been given. So it's
Wouldn't have been.
Why not though? Was it in classed as natural
Because
position?
it's classed as him putting his hand down to stop.
You sure it wouldn't have to be like that?
Yeah. Well, if you class as putting your hand down to protect yourself from falling,
right?
It's not handball.
Right, that's fair then. I just thought it'd have to be that. But
To be fair,
go on.
and then our goal. I was just going to say, I thought our goal were a decent goal. To be fair.
Well, Edison
That
had
goal does not go
a
in.
howler, though, didn't he?
But that goal does not go in if you don't have 6 or 7 players in the box putting the pressure on him. So as much as he makes a mistake, it's a forced mistake. You know, there were a hell of a lot of Leeds players in that box at that moment in time. So
and the one thing we didn't score from in the Championship was corners.
Yeah, that's true. And we've scored 2, haven't we?
And I think second best team in league corner. Bang, get him 1-0. See you later, Pep. We'll see you.
Interesting stat that I saw. Click had 33 passes and completed every single one of them, and they weren't just sideways and backwards or whatever. He was everywhere. Like as he grew into the game, and I didn't realise that he used to play with De Bruyne. And we all know Click's a bit of a shithouse. You think you were winding him up and getting him frustrated that way?
Yeah, Click's one of the biggest shithouses. You know, he's one of what's the way of putting it? He's one of the best people to look at for shithousery. Because he does it in such subtle ways at times.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's really obvious but subtle at the same time, if you get what I mean. It's brilliant. And he will have been, I'll tell you now, he'll have been winding him up. And the one thing that no matter what, you look at every single Leeds player when it panned in on one of them, Click, he's looking round and he's done something to De Bruyne and he's looking round to Phillips and going, and honestly, if smiles could kill coronavirus, it'd be gone now because
they got in Leeds anyway.
Yeah, because the smiles that were you watch them on that pitch when even when they were 1-0 down, Ayling were constantly smiling as if he
smiles all the time anyway.
Yeah.
And then you could tell that he's just they come off the pitch and you could tell that they had a good time.
Yeah, they were loving it.
We missed Harrison though.
Yeah.
We do without a doubt, and I love Alioski because he'll always be an absolute nutter, but on that left-hand side, we really missed Harrison. I think he would have impacted the game even more.
I just think it's great to see Leeds players that have come from the Championship and the odd ones that we brought in actually going at it and proving that, you know, these people that say, well, when Leeds come up, they won't play the same style. They can't play that in Premier League. They'll get murdered every week. Bring on Wolves. Let's have a go.
What I'll say is, I mean, us as Leeds fans, I'd have happily taken 6 points from the first 4 games. We've got 7. I mean, that's an awesome return in my eyes.
More.
It could have been more.
Europe.
Could have been more.
I mean, I had to have an awkward conversation with Al last week about the fact that I don't think we're going to be able to go abroad next year because I'm going to have to start planning European trips with lads. So,
mate,
it's not nice to be a Leeds
come on, mate. You said mid-table. Stick with it. But you said, Dan, earlier, you said you had another question later on. I'm guessing about keeper.
Before I touch on that question, I've got some notes here, and I can't remember the challenge myself. Hopefully, one of you 3 do.
Dallas.
We've got a yellow card.
Should have been red.
My notes say he should have got a red.
It was bad, that.
I can't remember the challenge, but
I remember it. He should have got red.
He should have got red. Yeah, straight on the back of his calf. I don't know if it was intentional or tired.
The problem is we see him a lot, and I don't actually fully know if it's a red or not anymore. Because like we've seen Nketiah get a red for one, where the studs, because there was no malice there whatsoever, where the studs, and then we've seen other players do it and not get a red card. So it's such a 50-50 that I don't know if it is a red or isn't a red. One week it's a red, next week it's not a red. So I think that's the problem with it, is if we're going off certain games where it has been given, because we have seen those given before, then yeah, it was a red. But then if you're going off other games where it's not given, then so I don't actually know if that should be a red or not. I did think when it happened, I was like, oh, that could be a red.
I thought so as well.
It's one of those, isn't it? Luke Shaw should have had a red, one given a red. Somebody will be given a red next week that shouldn't be given a red.
I wouldn't have complained if we'd have got a red for it.
Me neither.
No, I won't.
It all comes back to inconsistency.
And it's one of those as well. It's a change of pace for our lads. No excuses for them, right? But when you're coming up against them sort of people, it's different to coming up against, you know, Luton's right wingers and stuff like that. So I think he'll take that on chin, Dallas, and probably look at that and go, I'll be a little bit more careful in future. And I think Bielsa will probably point that out to him as well, because they won't want to lose him.
No, he's been integral for us. So you said you had a question. Dan?
Yes, I do. It's a two-parter.
Right.
Did you expect, and are you happy with Meslier being your number one?
I expected to be number one because of the issues that Kiko brought upon himself last season. Kiko arguably is better on paper, but he's still likely to cause issues from corners because he's not very commanding of his box, and he comes out like a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? He just comes out. He don't care that he'll be out at left wing.
It's a bit like Fabian Barthez with Gomez. He's
eccentricity is a bit.
Mistake.
Yeah. Whereas Meslier for me has been a bit more decisive when coming out and stuff in terms of like coming out to sweep the ball up sort of thing. Corners is still a little bit suspect. He's no doubt he can make saves. Occasionally last season he looked like he had biscuit wrists, but this season, as he showed against Sheffield United, he's obviously been working them out somehow. I've been happy with him because it's worked out so far. It was a gamble.
I thought he was going to be our number one. That's what I thought. I wanted somebody else. Didn't want him, if I'm being honest with you. I voiced that. I thought he was going to be our number one, though. I didn't think we were going to sign another goalkeeper. No. I wanted Kiko to leave. I don't want him at the club. It doesn't matter what standpoint you have on it. People look at him as a racist. I don't want that kind of man around my club. And I don't like him as a goalkeeper. So, for me, it was just a calamity of errors from time to time. Every time the ball went over the top, you were just thinking, oh, my God, Kiko's going to come and run and mispunch this, and they're going to be through. And what I will say is I've been absolutely surprised by Meslier. There's been moments like the Van Dijk goal where I didn't think he was strong enough in his net. Moments where he got caught out by De Bruyne. But there's also been moments where he showed that he could be a brilliant shot stopper, like the Sheffield United game. But if you'd have asked at the start of the season, I wanted us to sign a more experienced, better ball-playing goalkeeper. But I've said it time and time again, whoever Bielsa wants there, I'll fully get behind. And he's impressed me. There's still moments where he shows how old he is and his naivety of a goalkeeper.
21, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 21. I think he's, for his first season, really, of playing full max minutes, and it being in the Prem at Leeds and the teams we played, I can't really complain about him at all, really.
I agree with you there, Matt. I think I knew we were going to be number one because you just knew that you can't play Kiko after what's happened, and I'm with Matt again on the fact of get rid of him for me, especially free up £33,000 a week that he's on or whatever he's on. I actually thought we might have gone in for Martinez from Arsenal. I actually thought he might have been a good choice, and I think Meslier could have learned a lot from him. I thought that would have been a perfect choice for us. But again, you ask any Leeds fan, if we sign someone who we don't know now, if we did it a couple of years ago, we'd be like, what we're signing this load of rubbish for? Why are we signing these? But now it's if we sign someone we don't know, well, Bielsa's given the okay to do it, so I trust him. And if he says that Meslier is going to go up front next week, I trust that he's making the right decision. I'm not going to argue with Bielsa. I can't. I mean, like I said,
some fans still do though, mate.
You know what I mean?
It's a rarity though that such a core group of fans, no matter what he does and who he signs, will go, yeah, trust in Bielsa.
You won't find that in many clubs. You won't find that in many clubs. I mean, you can't even say that he's buying a player for a certain position because they don't really have positions. I think the goalkeeper's the only one that has a position because Alioski just comes on and buzzes about places, and he does stuff with players, and you think, where's he going here? And it's balmy how it works.
You just put a prime example there because they got our formation wrong when reading it out at the match. They had us down as 3 at the back. Yeah, and then as soon as the game started, we were playing 4 at the back. So this is how they have no absolute clue how Bielsa's going to line up, because the formation that showed up at the start of the game was us playing 3 at the back, and we didn't. We played 4 at the back. Yeah,
going back to the part 1. Yeah, I'm surprised with him. I hope he's going to become the next Paul Robinson for Leeds, who, he came in young, didn't he? And he was superb. And I'm hoping that he's going to, turn out to be good, and maybe we'll get the Italian or the young Dutch keeper that we've just signed as a number 2 when Kiko gets him sent off.
I was going to say, who's your number 2 if Kiko's not favoured?
There's 2 at club. We signed a young lad from Ajax. I've forgotten his name. And we signed one from Italy called Capriel. I think
The one from Ajax is supposed to be quite highly rated.
Yeah, we did have that Polish one, didn't we?
Miyazek, but he's gone. I think he was like 23, so they released him.
So it begs to say. I mean, if they got rid of Kiko, to be honest with you, Dan, I think we'd have to go after a new keeper. I think they would go. I don't know. They're after Darlow, want they, in Newcastle, but he's now playing a lot, so you're not going to get him. But they'd have to go for somebody as a backup or somebody to become number one if Meslier, starts having a bit of a wobbler at some point in the season.
I mean, we showed faith in him, didn't we? Because we had him on loan last season, and we've gone out and paid $5 million for him. I mean, it's in terms of a prospect, it's not a bad price, is it? But it's just like I say, it was still a bit of cheaper than Kepa, definitely. So, what were your thoughts, then, Dan? Because I know obviously you're asking us a question. What are your thoughts been of? What have your thoughts been of Meslier?
From what I've seen, it's been quite good. But like you guys have said, there are moments where you worry. And I thought he was 21, so I'm thinking 21-year-old in goal, like Matt said, playing for Leeds. I think you're weak. I think you could do with someone there as either a number two or at least challenging him. I'm worried about who your options are if he was to get injured.
His biggest strength for me is actually his mentality.
Yeah.
His ability to do something or make a mistake and not let it affect him. And that surprised me the most when getting to see him, is he knows he's learning. And I feel like his mental attributes as a goalkeeper are absolutely brilliant at 21 to be in the spotlight that he's in.
And at the club that he's at as well, let's be honest, it ain't easy. I mean, I think it's helped him not having a crowd. Because I think if you make a mistake at Leeds and you keep, I mean, that's Silvestri and co that have tried before. I think as soon as you make that one mistake, the crowd is on you. And if you're doing it in front of the South Stand, it does get a little bit too much, I think, for keepers where they're completely, they're getting a barrage of abuse. But like Matt says, he's mentally capable of being a good keeper. And that's one of the biggest traits you need as a keeper for me, is to be able to mentally block any mistakes you make out and just crack on.
It's funny, you mentioned Silvestri. He got called up for Italy squad.
Yeah,
that's how bad he was. But yeah, maybe it's just like you said. Maybe the fans just affect him too much when they make a mistake. Felix Wiedveld, he was another one, wasn't he? And then Andy Lonergan afterwards.
It's interesting that we've mentioned fans, because I actually wanted to say, and I've seen this a lot on Twitter, and this is a good stage to put this in because we talked about the fans, and especially your opinion, Dan. People are saying the fans have massively impacted football this year in terms of scoreline. I think it's bullshit. I think football's just evolving. I think there could be a lot of reasons why we're seeing scorelines that we're seeing and decisions that we're seeing. But a lot of people do put it down to the fact that there's no fans in the stadium. What's your mindset on that? Do you think that we're seeing bigger scorelines because there's not fans screaming and shouting, or a bias in the terms of having home and away really not being that much different?
To be honest, I don't think it makes much difference. If they're there, if they're not there. You want to win a game. So I don't see why it makes any difference if you've got the crowd in your ear hole saying, come on, what are you doing? You want to win the game regardless if they're there or not. So,
you don't think like people chanting your name wouldn't help, like raise them?
Maybe. I know they say that some clubs, they rely on the 12th man to help them. But for me, I don't think no, I don't agree with that.
I don't think it's enough.
I do have a thought process of that when you've got somebody shouting instructions from the touchline, or when you've got a defender or someone telling someone to come back or move or do this or go right, go left, I think that's when there's no fans there and the opposition can hear that, albeit if they can understand the language that whoever's speaking, then I think that can alter the game in many ways. So if someone says push up more, then they're going to know that if they push up more, they're going to be able to try maybe over the top balls to get in. It's going to be like, look, they're pushing up more. I heard him say pushing up more sort of thing. So,
but you'd hear that, wouldn't you, even if there were fans? Some players would still, if a coach at the sideline said push up more, at least one or two players, the opposition would hear that.
Potentially, but
then they could say to the rest of the team they're going to push up more.
When everybody can probably hear it, that's the difference. I mean, you think when you go up to attacking a team, pretty much everybody's in one half. So I would imagine that everybody will hear what's being said and what's being shouted. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm just saying there's a lot of different arguments to both sides. I think personally, when you're at Leeds, especially, and you're in that south stand getting behind the team, I think when the Raw's behind them, I think that's what's helped build this team in a way.
But we have had some. What makes me question it is we've had some moments where the team's been there, Derby, and it's not helped us. That's why I think Derby there's loads of occasions where it's not helped teams. The fans being there.
Yeah, Derby was an emotional one in respect of that we'd had so much history and fight between it, and that could be stuff that's built up into the players.
Yeah, but even if you look at pre-Bielsa, the fan base has always been way behind the team, and it hasn't helped us.
Pre-Bielsa, it wasn't as what it is now. I mean,
I don't think it's not been as collective. As a collective, the fans are all together as it stands now. But
the club was in a right state where fans were fighting each other because they had a belief about so and so running the club and so were doing it. And I've seen people fight and argue over Ken Bates, and I think, what are you fucking doing, you idiots? See your Leeds, just get on with it. But yeah, I think the fans play a massive part, but at the same time, it's quite enjoyable to see. I think it'd be interesting that when the fans go back, if we do start seeing all these scores coming down, then we know there's something about the fans. But if it isn't, then like you say, it could be something new, the game evolving in a different way. It'd be interesting to see. Nobody's right or wrong on that. I'm just saying that
it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's so many different sides to it. A lot of people will say, football's just going. I always find the age-old trying to find an excuse for why there's a lot of goals being scored instead of just going, football's progressing to be more attacking, that the art of defending is not what it used to be, and the art of attacking is the stage of football that we're in now. People want to see teams attack and play free-flowing open football. That's the style of football that people like to watch these days. That's what I would liken it to, but it is interesting that a lot of people would be, we don't have our fans at home, so we're not playing as well, and then I imagine some teams it doesn't seem to be affecting them. Their fight is still there no matter what.
100%. I mean, sorry, go on, Dan.
Just going to add to that, just saying, I'm thinking if I'm a player going out onto the pitch, sure, having fans there cheering me on, I'm going to love that. But my focus should not be on them pumping me up. My focus should be on getting onto this pitch and getting up that pitch to help my team score the goal to win the game.
Be interesting how much players actually play with the fans in their mind, or actually if players just go on the pitch and the fans are not really in their head at all, their focus is the game.
I think from our point of view, I don't think you can say that it's affected us. I think we're playing exactly the same as what we were before.
No, it hasn't. We're playing with a hell of a lot. It'd be lovely for the fans to see it, but we're playing with the same passion and fight you'd expect whether the fans were there or not.
No, we're going to say... go on, mate. Go on.
Sorry. Just going to say this is something that I said about Leeds when you got promoted. I knew what I was expecting with West Brom and Fulham, but I didn't have a clue what to expect with Leeds. Because it's been so long since I've seen you play that I didn't know how you were going to be. And you've surprised me.
Pleasant surprise.
You surprised me. And you're doing well.
It'll be interesting at Stamford Bridge and Ellen Road. Hopefully, we might have fans back by one of them anyway. But I don't think we will neither. But I'm going to say one team or one stadium that will be missing the fans in particular. Goodison Park, Everton, flying at the minute. 4-2. Again, there's no stopping Everton at the minute. And everyone laughs at Everton thinking, they're just in Liverpool shadow all the time. But fuck me. They're doing well,
Derby coming up.
That's what I mean. That's a tester.
That's the one where we can test Everton because the competition that they've played so far has been moderately. It hasn't been top 6 opposition, has it? And let's say for Brighton as well, the Karate Kid managed to get himself a goal towards the end of the game.
It was a right goal as well, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic goal, wasn't it? He's good with his foot. But yeah, Everton. We said it, and I love it because we said it in the prediction video, and at least I weren't wrong about something. Fuck you, Villa and West Ham. But they look like the team this year. I'm not saying they're going to do anything magical, but if you said to me one team that is going to surprise everyone and finish 4th and capitalise on other teams playing badly, although I think it'll be tough because Tottenham look very good as well under Mourinho, it would be Everton. No European football to worry about. One of the strongest squads in the league, in my opinion, in terms of togetherness and the way they play. And, God, I love James Rodriguez. he's just bloody great, isn't he? It's about time we had him in Premiership. He's just so good to watch. So every time he touches the ball, you're just like, it's going to happen now. It's going to happen now. He's just magic. He really is a magic player. I don't understand how he's not fit in at Real Madrid, but their loss is our profit as a football fan because we get to see him week in, week out now at Everton.
Anyone? Well, what are your thoughts, guys?
Sorry, I was just looking to see if any more transfers have gone through, which looks like it's just a boring transfer window. But Everton, I'm really enjoying watching them. And like I said to Limo when Limo were on, I always kind of had a little look for Everton when I was a kid because I used to like watching like the Merseyside derbies that were always good with Duncan Ferguson and Tony Cottee and all them. And it's nice to see somebody else breaking into that top 5 or 6. I said to a Man United fan, I said, I tell you what, you're being replaced by Everton this year. You forget your top 4, you might as well get back at Q, mate, because Everton and, like Matt says, Tottenham, when we do the new prediction video, now that the transfer thing is over tonight, I think you'll find that they might slip into the top 4 or 5.
It's refreshing how they're doing it as well, though, isn't it? Because the way they're doing it is such
good football.
Good football.
Good football touch.
It's weird when you talk about signings trying to settle into club. We talked about it earlier with Chelsea, didn't we? Signings settling in. I've never seen 3 players come into a club and just settle in as quickly as they have. Alan looks unbelievable. Decore, obviously, he's not played as much, but still look very good. But James Rodriguez, it's like he's always been at Everton.
Yeah.
The way he plays is as if he just slotted in straight away. Everybody knows Ancelotti is, you'll know yourself, Dan, is a brilliant manager. There's no doubt in that. And when Everton convinced him to go to that club, I just knew something was going to happen. That something was going to happen. And I don't know what he's done to Calvert-Lewin, but thank you from an England perspective, because that man is on fire. He finishes everything. Absolutely everything. He can be feeding off scraps and he's going to put something back at net. He's just, they're the ones to watch for me this year. They're the ones to watch, especially the way they're playing as well.
What are your thoughts on it, Dan?
When Ancelotti was confirmed, I couldn't believe it because I thought I was a fan of his when he was at Chelsea, and I thought it was a harsh sacking because he did all right for us. Then he starts making his signings because I think this was his first window. I'm not sure if he got January. I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, I can't remember. But anyway, the signings he brings in, and you're thinking, wow, okay. And then you see how they're playing. And I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. Everton, in my eyes, they are becoming the new Leicester because I think Leicester are slowly dropping off. Everton are starting to knock on the door of that top 6. This season, they're doing very well.
So far.
With Charlison, he's doing better. I'm not a big fan of his because he should be getting more goals, I think. But he's doing much better. I do worry if Calvert-Lewin got injured, though, because they've now let Keane go. We don't have another striker. Not really.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, I agree with that. They'd definitely be in trouble. The only thing I could imagine is that if Calvert-Lewin got injured, he'd play Richarlison up top. That can be the only alternative. You're right about him, Richarlison not finishing. He does all the good, the good work and doesn't finish. He definitely looks a brighter spark under Ancelotti, though. Ancelotti's
definitely getting the much better performances out of these players.
Yeah, he looks happy as well. I watch him in his interviews, and he just seems really happy. He's got a beaming smile on his face. I always thought he was a bit of a miserable fucker, if I'm being honest with you. But he's just always got a smile on his face. At the end of the Brighton game again, big smile on his face. They're asking him questions, and all he can do is smile about how well his players done. I think he's genuinely having a really good time being Everton manager.
And let's not forget they were playing a good Brighton side. Brighton are no mugs. They're not keep.
No, Brighton are very good. Yeah, very good football inside.
They've impressed me this season.
They've got one of the best defenders that we've created for them.
Karate Kid.
Yeah, do you know what? They're not a bad side of Brighton. But yeah, it's refreshing to watch. I'm loving it, to be fair. I think it's nice that maybe a few Liverpool fans might be looking over the shoulder a bit and thinking, hey, what's going on here? Is this going to... I mean, I'd like to see, obviously Leeds win the league at one point, but I'd like to see, rather than Manchester United and Chelsea, sorry, Dan, But I'd like to maybe have a Liverpool versus Everton running at the end of this season or next season.
Well, they've got the derby, haven't they, coming up, and that will be the big one. Let's just call this here, just because I can, and it don't matter if it doesn't happen. Everton are going to win the league and do what Leicester did.
Yeah, all right. Then. Oh. That's a bold statement.
And that's exactly the reaction you'd have given when we said Leicester were going to win the league.
Yes.
No, stick
so we'll see.
On it now.
We'll see.
On it.
To be honest with you, Everton's squad is far better than the Leicester one that won the league. I don't care whether they're Mahrez or whatever else. The squad on as a whole is better. So I think there's more chance of it happening.
Liverpool will be sat here and you'll be like, oh, man.
Yeah, but then if it doesn't happen...
I think Liverpool and Man City will drop more points this season than they have in the past couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And if a team can find form and spirit, if there is any year where a random team could win the league, that is not Liverpool or Manchester City, I think this is the season.
Yeah.
This is the season that I think they will slip up the most.
Well, it's a chance for your Tottenhams and your Everton. To start, Tottenham, Everton, and even in a sense.
When I win 500 grand off my quid, right? Just remember this, because I won't be sat here with you anymore.
Just remember your friends.
I'll be in studio with 3 other people I've met now that I'm rich.
In this game as well, I noticed that Sigurdsson started, and one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of is how Sigurdsson and James connect, because I think them two could be quite good together. I'm just not sure how much he will play.
I always thought he was good. I always thought he was good before I went there.
Well, he was good at Swansea, wasn't he? But he looked dreadful under Silva. And every time I've seen him play under Ancelotti, he's creative. He creates stuff. He reminds me a little bit of an Eriksen from Spurs, and he adds that little bit in midfield that can give you something a bit extra in certain games. And even if he doesn't play massive amounts of minutes, he's a great ace up your sleeve. So he's Bernard. Quick, pacey, tricky on the ball. They've got quite a few aces up the sleeves. It's scary how much depth they've got. Just signed another centre-back now, so they've got even more centre-back depth. I think the only position I would worry about if I was an Everton fan is, like we say, Calvert-Lewin. But the rest of the pitch, they've got numbers.
What about goalkeeper? Because I've just seen something flash across. And they're signing Robin Olsen from a goalkeeper from Roma.
Yeah, who talked about today with that.
Who's the second goalkeeper, though?
Oh, God.
It's a Portuguese youngster. He went to Reading. Can't remember his name. Begins with V.
So there you go. So they need a good number 2, don't they?
Actually, no. It's the Huddersfield keeper, Lossell.
Lossell, yeah.
Unless he's gone back there, because I did hear a rumour, so I'm not sure. They definitely needed another keeper.
When you said although you've just heard that, are you looking at that and thinking Pickford replacement?
Well, have they had enough of his mistakes? He had another mistake, didn't he?
It didn't affect the game though. For all the good he does, there is no way, shape, or form after that one mistake that Pickford ain't their number 1.
Yeah,
and he'll probably still be England number 1.
There's been several mistakes this season, haven't there? Just he haven't been punished for them. Yeah, there's been a few this season he's done. It's been under scrutiny a few times.
I haven't seen any other mistakes this season.
Everton's reserve keepers, Jonas Lossell,
yeah.
And the situation is he'll still be England number 1 because I can't see anyone taking his spot. Henderson's not playing and Pope's having the worst season of his lifetime. He's been absolutely shocking. He's made more mistakes than De Gea and Pickford combined. So I think they've still got 100% full faith in Pickford. It might be good to have someone behind him to give him a kick up the arse, but Pickford's going to be Everton's number 1, I think, without a doubt. And he is, for all the mistakes that maybe he does make, he is an absolutely brilliant shot stopper.
Oh, yeah. That's never been in question, I don't think. It's just, I don't know, decision-making, I think, lets him down. I'm sure he gave one away when he tried passing it out back or something like that, and he kind of messed up or something. I know Pope did the same, but I'm on about Pickford in terms of if it keeps happening.
I don't remember seeing that. This was the first mistake that I saw this season.
I'm certain that they've been on about it on radio when I've been driving on my way home a few times this season already. I think it was the third time that this was the third mistake this season already, and we're only 5 games into the season. Yeah, it was
I
cup
didn't know
cup
that.
game. Cup game. Can't remember what they're playing. Who cares about cup? Yeah, it's still messed up though. But yeah, that's what it is.
You'll be saying they were in goal soon when England lost 6-0 to Croatia, won't you?
5-0, mate. Get it right.
5-0.
So, so Brighton, any worries with them? Do you think?
No, they play great football, don't they?
Yeah, but they've only got what have they got? One win and lost the rest. I know they were lucky against Man United and arguably Chelsea.
See, one thing I don't understand is they've seen how Ben White can play in a 4 at the back, and they still persist on putting him at the right hand side of a 3 at the back.
But that's because that's their formation, though, mate.
It just doesn't suit Ben White, though.
Yeah, but
he'd be better in the centre.
That's your
opinion. They've got to adapt to their systems, haven't they?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I think if he was in the centre, I think it'd be a lot more effective.
They won't play him in centre, though.
I know they won't, but it's where I see it. But they'll be fine. They'll middle around mid-table.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next game, which was Arsenal against Sheffield United. I believe it finished 2-1. McGoldrick got a late consolation goal.
Brilliant goal.
Yeah, it was. I think that was their first goal this season, actually, as well.
Yeah.
So which is we touched on it before, haven't we? They're not scoring enough goals, but Arsenal looked pretty good. Large spells.
No, they didn't.
No. They didn't.
I didn't think
first half was god awful. Arsenal were lucky, if I'm being honest with you. Saka did a brilliant. His header were fantastic, but I think Arsenal, they weren't at the races. It were one of them that you can look at and say we did not play well at all, but we got 3 points. Because Sheffield United didn't play great either, but it was just such a scrappy. It was boring as well.
I think it was
the game came to life right at the end.
I know it wasn't until. Sorry, mate.
No, go.
I was going to say it wasn't until they brought Pepe on that things started to work for Arsenal.
His goal was brilliant.
That was pretty much when I properly watched it because I had it on, and I know it first half were a bit dire, but yeah, he scored. Was it not long after he came on? He scored.
Like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So and then after that, I was like, oh yeah, actually, it looks like Arsenal was starting to get on top, and obviously they got the second goal, and then thinking that's it, job done. And then, like you said, I got one late on the huffed and puffed into the chef, but again, there's no end product again. I guess
they played well again, which is, but again, just not the goals.
I fear for him at the moment. I mean, I know they've got Brewster in, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough for him. And their next games, I mean, I'm just looking at my head. They've got Fulham. You would hope that Sheffield will get something out of that. Then they've got Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, West Ham, who we'll come on to in a bit. Then they've got maybe a fight against West Brom again. And then
but those big games could be key games for them because you take something from those games and that can kickstart their season. And all it takes is Brewster to come in, get his first goal against Liverpool, and get a draw or just a good performance, and you're off. You've kickstarted your season. That's what they need now.
Yeah, they need that. But I've got a feeling if they let's say they get a draw against Fulham and then maybe they get Liverpool beat them, you're coming up against Man City, Chelsea. I can see him struggling, to be fair. And I like him to play good football. I like Chris Wilder. I don't know. I've just got a bad feeling about Sheffield United. I hope I'm wrong because I don't want to see any Yorkshire team come. I'd rather, sorry Dan, but I'd rather replace London teams with Yorkshire teams. To be fair, because it's been a while since we've had a lot of Yorkshire teams in there. I'd like to see Huddersfield back in and Sheffield Wednesday back in, and let's have a bit more Yorkshire representation.
They remind me of Villa.
Yeah.
And what Villa was missing was a goal scorer. And if Brewster comes in and gets goals, they'll be fine. But that's
if at the minute, yeah.
Well, I'm going to touch on the whole Sheffield United subject a bit later, but I agree with Daz. I am worried about Sheffield United this season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I say, it's going to be key whether Brewster works or not because I've spent quite a bit of money in their terms getting him in.
Well, Sander Berg should have been sent off.
But
what to me looked like a 2-footed tackle.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. But
David Luiz should have been sent off.
Yeah, David Luiz could have been sent off as well.
Paul, wasn't it? Yeah, Paul early doors.
Yep.
But it's a bit of a funny one, really. It's because I think everyone had. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You're thinking
fourth now, are they? Yeah, fourth.
Like you say, you're thinking when's the first win going to come for Sheffield United? But
you've got to remember it is still early, and we have seen a lot of teams before not get off to a great start, go on just a good run, and you look at them in a different light. And we're going to go on to that game soon, but look at West Ham. At the start of the season, 2 games ago, you'd have had West Ham as a dead cert to go down. And I don't know what side I've just watched for the last 2 matches.
Well, it's funny you say that because it can transition into that game.
So there you go. It just takes a run of form, and it's a complete different story. It's just whether you believe when you're watching the team play that can happen. And I watch Sheffield United, and I don't think they're that bad. When I'm watching them play, I just don't think there's an end product. And they look a little bit disjointed at the back, which isn't usual for them.
With West Ham, though, compared to Sheffield United, I think West Ham have got the capability with the likes of Jarrod Bowen, who had a fantastic game against Leicester. And they should. We've said it before. The players they've got on paper, they might not fit Moyes'.
Well, no, the ones he's starting do fit his philosophy, and you can. Yeah, what's surprising is you can see now that it's paying off for him.
Yeah, and I think players like Bowen and that are, better than
Antonio is unreal at the minute.
It's brilliant.
That Fornals has been fantastic under Moyes.
I was just going to say it's about time that Bowen started getting the goals and producing, because they spent quite a bit of money on him. He did really well at Hull, and since he came in, he just wasn't doing it.
I don't think he got enough time though, did it? He got what, half a season, didn't play max minutes half that season, and I think the worst part with Bowen is he's come from a team he's fighting in a terrible atmosphere at a relegation side, that he's the star man who's just keeping them afloat. It must have been very difficult for him mentally to be in that situation, to then go to West Ham and be in not a great situation there in the grand scheme of things. And I think just took him a bit of time to find his bearing, probably in London.
Yeah, maybe I can see that bit of thing. But yeah, obviously 3-0 wasn't it, ends to West Ham. What happened to Leicester? What went wrong?
I don't know. It was great. I don't know what the football season is. I didn't see West Ham beating Wolves 4-0. We've talked about that before, and now they've just beaten Leicester 3-0. They haven't conceded a goal. I don't know what's going on. I give up on predicting anything that's going to happen this season.
If anyone's winning an accumulator, there's definitely something dodgy there, isn't there?
They've lost of Leicester, but they're still third.
No.
Yeah, Leicester were missing Maddison, 100%. Pratt was also out. I think Pratt and Maddison are kind of like similar players. If one plays, the other's benched, vice versa. So you've noticed lately that Pratt's been in the team because he's been doing quite well, and then Maddison comes on. Both of them were just missing. I think that just changed everything.
Right.
Vardy didn't get many opportunities either, did he, really? The service to Vardy was quite... I can only remember one where he went through and kind of got the ball stuck up in his feet.
They didn't have a shot on target.
Didn't even get a shot on target.
It's weird, that, isn't it?
It's bad, isn't it?
I looked at Leicester after Man City and thought, all right, they've hit the ground running this season, and I've said that they're going to have a bad season. And then now, when you look at them now, it's kind of like, is there bigger issues there in the grand scheme of a collection of games? Because when you watch that game against West Ham, it just seems like they showed zero respect to West Ham. They took West Ham as a team that are probably going to get relegated, a team that we don't need to fear West Ham, and West Ham went at them.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, 4 shots, none on target, 70% possession. They had 684 passes compared to West Ham's 296.
Played on counter. Did it do a bit of a Wigan towards what? If you remember, they just sat back and got a counter and got 3 goals.
400 passes more than Leicester. Leicester have had no shots on target, and they've only had 4 shots overall.
And Leicester are usually good at playing on the counter.
You know what I mean?
The pace they've got on the break.
It's stats you won't see against Leicester like that. Probably for us, well, you might do because it's a weird season, isn't it? You never know.
Do you think it's a blip, Dan, or do you think Leicester could be coming up to because they haven't, in my opinion, they haven't strengthened. They've got a good squad. They haven't strengthened really in reality massively. I don't know much about Under, but it was a loan, so that shows how much confidence they have in him being a permanent player there anyway. And I think they signed the centre-back for Fana. I think they got that deal done.
I think they got Castagna as well, I think, for right back.
Do you think they should... Castagna's probably been the shining light of signings for him. He's looked very good for him. And I have no idea why other clubs who needed that position didn't go in for him. Man United, anybody?
I think we're only 5 million as well, something like that.
It was cheap. But yeah, do you think Leicester are in trouble in terms of? We talked about them in Champions League football last season. Now are we looking at them being just a mid-table side?
They've started off well, yes, but I do think they're in trouble. I don't think they have strengthened in the right places. I mean, Fofana, 18-year-old, they spent 30 to 40 million on him. I think that's a big gamble.
Massive.
Udder, I don't know enough about him. I don't think he's even lit Serie A up to warrant any kind of praise. So that's a gamble as well, I think. Vardy is still on his own. They've got Iheanacho, who he's all right. He's not good enough to start. He's not Vardy. And then you've got Harvey Barnes, who's okay, fair enough. He's gotten himself into the England squad, but he's still not doing enough in my eyes.
He doesn't have the end product, does he, Barnes?
No, he's just not doing enough.
How do you? This is the big question, Dan. How do you replace Vardy? Because everyone scratches their head on it. As Leicester being so Vardy orientated for so many seasons now, how the hell do they go about that transition of Vardy not being the man anymore?
It's the same question that you asked Man City about Aguero. How do you replace him?
And Spurs about Harry Kane when he gets
that season, didn't we?
I don't know, but they need to get another striker in to give it a go. Iheanacho is not that man, because I'm not even sure I see him as a striker, to be honest. Maybe as a winger cutting in.
He's got that age-old issue, and he's nowhere near as prolific as Rashford. Let's get that right. And Welbeck had that. They are like this hybrid where they're not going to score enough goals to be a striker at Premiership level, but they still have good ability. And Iheanacho, coming from Man City, was seen as someone who did have a big amount of ability, and it's just probably kind of not worked for him, especially not at Leicester, because he can barely get a look in. They surprised me because Lookman went to Fulham, and I thought when I watched Lookman play, especially for Leipzig, which he didn't play massive amounts of times, he would fit Leicester's system like a glove.
Yes. From what I've seen of Lookman as well, I couldn't believe Everton sold him because he was the bright prospect coming up, and he would fit in the Leicester team perfectly. Just like when they needed a left back, in my opinion, to replace Chilwell, I was thinking, who could they get? Jamal Lewis, I thought at the time. He'd have been perfect.
Could not agree more on that one.
But
Leicester fans tell me consistently, I have a different viewpoint, and it's great because you'll have a different viewpoint as well, that Chilwell is crap. I don't buy that. I think Chilwell's good. As a Chelsea fan, you surely must have been happy with Chilwell. It was a pricey fee, but he's English.
It's not as pricey as what I thought it was going to be, because I was hearing rumours closer to the Maguire fee, and I was thinking, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Chilwell fan. I want him in my club.
Surely Leicester miss him.
This is why I was surprised they didn't sign a left back, and then Castagna came in. I'm thinking, can he do a role at left back? But he's not. They've switched Justin over to left back, I think.
Yeah, Justin's played left back, and Castagna's played right back because I think Pereira is injured.
So yeah, I'm still thinking they need a left back, but I forget about Ricardo because he is injured, like you said. So will Castagna go over to the left, and can he still do a good enough job?
Yeah, I would imagine that's what they'll probably do. You'd start both of those two, would you? But I just think Leicester didn't look at Chilwell as. Fans of Leicester didn't look at Chilwell as a very good player and were happy to cash in, but
it can't be that bad. He's playing for England. He's started England left back, isn't he?
Well, the argument is who else is a left back for England?
This is what I was going to say.
And it's difficult because you're throwing names out there like Danny Rose, Jamal Lewis potentially in the future, but there's not many left backs that could play for England, unfortunately.
Jamal Lewis, I believe, is Northern Ireland. Unless he's not represented.
Oh, has he declared for Northern Ireland?
I'm not sure. But I know at one point we were like so many left backs, we just couldn't decide who it was going to be.
Ryan Bertrand were in the fold at one point as well. He were good at one point.
Bertrand, you had Baines. There was so many.
It's not an Irish.
Chilwell, just because he might be the only available left back doesn't mean he's rubbish.
Doesn't mean he's not good, yeah.
No, he is a quality defender. I mean, watching him on Saturday, I was so impressed with him. It was his first Premier League start for Chelsea. He was getting up that field. He was providing the balls. He was getting back. He was defending. He was doing everything that I want to see in a left back. Something that I've not seen in Alonso so long. So I'm chuffed to bits that Chelsea have got him.
I think he doesn't get superstar stats, and I think that's why Leicester didn't like him, because he doesn't get, like Ricardo's stats on the right are probably very good because of how effective he is going forward.
Yeah.
But I think Chilwell is a solid left back, and he may not be a Trent who's going to bomb forward and get you these balls in and score these fancy goals, but he's going to do a job for you. I think what I found really strange is I really like Sionchu for Leicester, and he just goes missing in games. He was dreadful against West Ham.
Yeah. I am worried about Leicester because they haven't got enough players in them to get the goals.
Not enough strength in depth.
I agree with that. There's a lot of reliance on Vardy, and I've said it.
Big
Maddison and Harvey Barnes don't score enough. It's always been the case. And the midfield do chip in with Tielemans and your Pratt, but I don't think they've got enough goals in the squad. Definitely.
I mean, they are missing Ndidi. That goes without saying. But they need the goals. And they've tried signing strikers before. I mean, Slimani cost 30-odd million. He couldn't do it. It wasn't favoured.
He was panic, wasn't he, after they won the trophy? They felt like they did that age-old thing where you told... They should have known that you ain't going to repeat this. You ain't going to repeat what you've just done.
Yeah.
But they tried to strengthen the squad to make them good enough to repeat it. And you sign a striker from Sporting Lisbon, I think it was at the time, who he's doing well in the Portuguese league, but he's absolutely shocking in the Premiership.
Mm-hmm. They should be looking for another striker to come in and challenge, if not eventually replace Vardy. So I'm surprised Rodgers has not addressed that. I mean, I know there were rumours that he was looking at Edouard at Celtic because he'll know him very well. Maybe he could do a good job. I don't know.
Well, you wanted Edouard, didn't you? At Leeds, didn't you, Matt?
I wanted him. I like the way he plays. He doesn't play like Vardy, but he's very nice on the ball. He's good at linking up play, and he knows where the back of the net is.
And Rodgers would know him very well. So you'd imagine they'd be able to get lost straight away.
And he'd be 30 million. You know, he wouldn't be massively expensive just simply because he's at Celtic. I think, you know, like Dan said, he would have been a great signing for Leicester.
Your thoughts on it, Daz? They called you Dan then.
I agree. I don't know what Leicester are going to do. I mean, I'm just seeing here now that Man United have signed Edison.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's actually gone through.
Did you see the transfer that they've announced for January?
Yeah, I can't say I recognise the name though.
That's because he's like a 16, 17-year-old kid for Atalanta. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's just like billed as a massive transfer.
What is he for January? The 18
January, yeah.
He's played 3 games and they're spending 37 million on him.
It's somewhat more
How much?
Or something like that, hasn't it?
Sky Sports said 37, I think.
And he's played 3 games.
3 games, 1 goal, and he's like 17.
He's supposed to be the next big star at right wing.
It's like they're just continually trying to find the next Ronaldo. Let's go find.
I think the only plus side you would say is he was rated extremely highly at Atalanta, and if you look at their coaching system and the way they play football, that probably does indicate to you that there's something there. When a team that plays the way they do, especially offensively, and they've got a coach as talented as they've got, who rates him that highly that he don't want him to leave, there probably is something there. But again, it's a punt.
Yeah, definitely a punt, 100%. But it's the amount of money. It's staggering that. How much pressure is that kid going to be under when he breaks into the first team? You know,
you don't know, do you? You have no idea until he plays. But the kid might absolutely thrive. We might be looking back at him thinking he's one of the best transfer signings that's ever been made, and he comes from great stock. Or
honestly, he'll probably love the champion. He'll probably love the championship, so don't worry about it.
Well, he won't go to the championship though, will he?
Will Man United if they carry on.
I think if you look at Man United, but if you look at Man United, there's always that age-old question of a lot of players that leave Man United become stars. Memphis Depay, shocking at Man United, fantastic at Lyon, and now for the Netherlands. Talks of him going to Barcelona. He's that highly rated now.
Could still happen.
Manchester United got absolutely nothing out of him. And then, you know, we've talked about Lukaku. Chris Smalling will be brilliant for Roma. Absolutely nothing out of him at Manchester United. Ashley Young was brilliant for Inter Milan because of the way they used him and in the role he played in with Conte. And it's just, it's really crazy when you think about it. I don't know if it is down to coaching or whatnot, but the best thing that can happen for everyone is that Ollie stays and that Pochettino does not come.
Well, moving on to the next game then, which I've got down as Newcastle against Burnley. You highlighted already. Pope made a couple of mistakes. I think one he got away with. Three was it? Well, three.
Got away with two.
Got away with one of them at least.
He didn't get away with two of them. He only got away with one of them, which Callum Wilson, for some strange reason, didn't pull the trigger. But one of them he gave away at penalty because he miscontrolled it, and the other one he passed the ball out and they scored from it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, what's happening there then? Sorry?
Can we all just hope that this is a season where Burnley go down?
The
football is the worst football I've watched in the Premier League this season so far. And I've taken more notice of them because we're obviously in the Premier League now. But I just don't like anything about the way they play. Nothing. Apart from the fact that they've got Chris Wood back at Leeds. Honestly, apart from that they've got Chris Wood that have back at Leeds, they can keep Charlie Taylor. I don't rate him much anymore, but
they're in. I think you might be in luck this year, Daz, because they're in. I would say that they are a team that are in severe trouble. Again, they haven't really spent up this time round, and
of the ball.
There's Dale Stevens, and that's it.
Newcastle
weren't brilliant, but what I must admit that Newcastle have now in their team is two players that will change a game for you, and that's Callum Wilson and, oh my God, Alan Saint-Maximin. That guy will not be at Newcastle for much longer. I can tell you that. If he keeps doing that this season, he makes magic happen for them. They need to pray that they can keep hold of him, buy him as many Gucci headbands as you can, because he's going to be off. Because the way he plays football and the impact he has on a game, Newcastle will win a lot of games this season on the back of Saint-Maximin and Wilson. They keep those two fit. They do work well as a unit, don't get me wrong, but they keep those two fit and they're going to be a danger to anyone. Maximin makes something out of nothing. His first goal was absolutely... I was watching the game and it was a bit of a dull start, and out of nowhere, I'm like, oh, fuck me. How's he managed to squeeze that one in? And his footwork, fantastic. Newcastle fans, stop spitting your dummies out. Stop whinging, moaning, complaining that nothing ever good happens at your club when you've been in the Premiership for so long. You've signed some brilliant players this time out. Steve Bruce seems to have them organised and doing good things. Just enjoy this season for what it'll be and see what happens next year. Because they've spent some cash this time round. They haven't sold any of the superstars. They've kept the team intact and they've improved it. And Newcastle could be in for a mid-table finish quite comfortably if they can keep playing like that.
Newcastle had superstars.
For them, like players like Ayoze Perez, when they sold him, that was huge for them to lose him. So they have lost some big players that they've never spent money back for.
Yeah. Were you going to say something then, Dan? Sorry.
I was just going to say that Bruce got his business in early. He knew what he wanted. He went out there and got Wilson. Fraser. Let's not forget about Fraser. You know, he when he gets playing, he's a good player. And hearing that he waited to see if Wilson was going to sign before he signed, that was quite amusing as well.
His attitude worries me.
Yeah,
and he hasn't started well for them, but I think he's trying to find fitness.
Is that because he wouldn't continue for Bournemouth last season?
I think he was well within his right to make that decision. I think the worrying sign is now the situation he's found itself in with such a lack of football. It would have benefited him to have played that last stretch of football, knowing he was going to leave. I don't see any reason why he left in the bad books as well. There's just no need for him, really. I think it would have benefited him playing that end stretch because now he's terribly unfit. He's got no match fitness. And I think he had to come off against Burnley because he picked up a knock. So his career at Newcastle hasn't started great.
Yeah, my argument would be liking it to Leeds with Berardi. He played and got injured. A bad one as well. That might be what might have aided his decision not to play, if that makes sense.
Maybe, but I just think the stock was that high in him that unless he someone probably would have still picked him up.
Yeah, fair dues. And I suppose we can move on to the penultimate game, which was Southampton against West Brom. It was a 2-0 win for Southampton. What do we think of the game?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch it. I don't know much about it, but I expected it. I'm not gonna lie about that one.
You didn't miss out. If you've watched West Brom this season so far, apart from Chelsea game, it was our West Brom player.
I would have slapped a 2-0 on it anyway. I'd have said 2-0. So it's about the only result at weekend that they got right.
They should have scored more, Southampton, but it was a good workman-like performance. They went in, they got the job done. They come away with a victory. Gineppo got a decent goal as well, and it kind of was what it was. It, as Daz said exactly there, it's probably one of the results at the weekend that if you were sticking a bet on, you'd have probably got it right, because you definitely wouldn't have got the other ones right. So it was dull. Was dull, but Southampton, good performance from them. Keep getting they will collect a lot of wins this season. I think with the way they play against sides like that, I think they'll find those quite comfortable.
Yeah, West Brom are another team that worry me.
Yeah,
because they took Callum Robinson from Sheffield United last season on loan. I don't know how many goals he got for them in the Championship, but he only got 1 goal for Sheffield United in the Premier League, and he's their #1 striker. And who's the backup striker on the bench?
That was clinical against Chelsea, though, wasn't it?
Robson Cannon. So where...
He doesn't even let it affect him at all then.
Not until you started laughing, no. But again, I don't know where the goals are coming from, because...
No, you're exactly right.
The players they're going for is exactly the same as the players they had in the Championship. I mean, they signed that Pereira permanently. They've just signed... some Croatian from Benfica who they had last season.
Yeah,
I can't remember
forget his name, as I know what you mean though.
Yeah. They're going down.
On their actual signings, apart from the striker, which I agree, they should have signed a good striker, Dean Garner and Pereira will probably be their best 2 players this season.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
How they got Diagana for 18 million and West Ham just let him go, it's ridiculous.
I have no clue how that came
about.
about.
We covered that, didn't we? We couldn't understand that.
There's one plus that I've got for West Brom and this game, and that was Johnston in goal. He was...
Oh, yeah, he was brilliant, wasn't he? Yeah, he was good.
I mean, this result could have been 4, 5, 6 if it wasn't for him. He kept out so many opportunities.
Yeah, it's what you need. Usually you need a good goalkeeper to start off with, but it's just... Eventually, it's like how else you've got like Ramsdale last season at Bournemouth. You're going to concede that many chances that eventually you're just going to let him in, aren't you? And that's the problem.
We should take a moment for Ramsdale, because he could be about to suffer back-to-back.
Oh, exactly, yeah. That's very true. But yeah, he was just like I say, kind of expected that, you say. Southampton 2-0.
But it worries you, because I thought West Brom had so much fight against Chelsea, which impressed me was their fight. And that I thought if they play like that against teams, they will come out with some points. I don't know where it was in this one. The shining light was, as Dan said, was Johnston. He was fantastic in that, but you can only save so many. Do you know what I mean? Before one's going to hit the back of the net, you can only save so many. You can only do so much for your team, and I can't even remember them having an attack that were woeful going forward.
Yeah, I think I just can't see him doing it West Brom. I'm a bit disappointed in a way, because they give us a good run for the money last year, and I thought, do you know what, they're not a bad team to go up with. And the 2 clubs had a lot of respect between each other, Leeds and West Brom. And, one of those where you thought they'll be all right if anyone's going to bite the dust up with Fulham, which looks like potentially a bit. But yeah, I'm surprised with how bad they can be at times.
But it's scary that both sides, both West Brom, and this is where it's beautiful to be a Leeds fan, but both West Brom and Fulham have just not strengthened. No. They just really haven't strengthened at all. And although we lining up with a team that we used in the Championship, I think when you look at the end of the transfer window and you look at Leeds' business, you think, wow, Leeds did a pretty decent job. You've got Koch, you've got Llorente, you've got Rodrigo, you've got Rafinha now coming in. We did very good business that was going to add to what we already had. I just feel like West Brom, as Dan said, they just basically signed players that they already had in there. Yeah. I think Fulham are exactly the same. They haven't really strengthened. That would worry me. If you promoted, I'm not saying you should spend ridiculous amounts of money, but it's naive. Villa did only just stay up, but it's naive to think that they wouldn't have stayed up if they didn't spend the money they did. They might not have spent it cleverly, but I think they should have spent more than what they did coming up. I think you've got to do more. You've got to sign better players.
I need to touch on this. I'm sorry, right? Because just what you said about Rafinha, I'm not sure if it's been confirmed yet. And if you saw on social media, a lot of the Ren fans have been kicking off and calling us.
It's been confirmed on Sky Sports.
No, it just said the deal's been accepted, right, and all that lot. And it says there's a message saying, "Don't go to bed just yet. There's still work to be done. Let's see if we can show you a camera." And you might, we'll explain afterwards what it means. You'll see it thing at corner Sky Sports like, but you shouldn't pick it up. There's still work to be done. There's fish and chips because the big corners fish and chip motherfuckers and stuff. So, which I thought quite funny.
As far as what Sky Sports said, it was
no.
Well, done deal.
It says here, don't go to bed just yet. There's still work to be done. Is what it says. That's 15 minutes ago. As it stands,
it must just have to.
And it's 10:30 now. So,
do you know what? The last time Leeds put Doug out of bed,
yeah, I remember that.
With our best players.
I remember that. Yeah,
and they weren't now. Paulson.
It was Matt Smith.
Dan James was the same though.
Yeah,
he was this time.
He'll come in.
I reckon I've done it on purpose, just to
midnight.
I think as far as Sky said, all he's got to do is agree contract.
Yeah,
which I thought would be. He said he wanted to come to the club. It's done. It's done.
Theo Walcott's.
Southampton.
4-year deal, boys. So,
4-year deal. Rafinha said it's confirmed. Yeah, it's confirmed.
Yeah, I knew it would come in.
Actually, I mean, I knew it was. You got connections, yeah, you said. What, the fish and chip guy?
Yeah, he let me know. He dropped fish and chips off and he said, deal's done, don't worry, mate.
I just put the water colour on now.
Yeah, they just announced it on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
I love him. I had him 2 years ago at Sporting Lisbon, and he was like my love channel. He was so fucking good on Football Manager.
I don't know much about him, if I'm honest.
He's brilliant. He's so tricky, pacey. He's such a fantastic winger. I even signed him on PES this year. I'm so excited that we signed him.
Right, so Tom Cantwell can come in tomorrow or later on in the week. Yeah, it's just coming up with now.
Is that still going on? Because I've not heard nothing about Cantwell in a while.
We've got until 16th, haven't we?
Am I wrong in thinking that the extended window for English players is for Championship and below to sign from Premier League?
No. The Premier League signed.
That's why that's what I saw. But...
No, that's why Man United are talking about bringing Sarr in from Watford.
Yeah.
After the window's shut.
Well, fair.
No, they won't do that. Clubs have got until the 16th in England, all the clubs in England, to buy between each other.
Right.
So those deals can still be done.
Premier League to Prem. Yeah. Sorry, that's what it was. Prem to Prem. Yeah.
I was going to say, speaking of the Championship and Watford, Delafeu.
Yeah, he's going to
Udinese on loan.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And do you know why that's happening? Because they fucking own both clubs.
Yeah.
Do you know
it's a joke. The man should be at a world-class club. Yeah. He's brilliant.
Why Man United not acting on that?
Because they're fucking morons.
Do you know somebody said on Twitter today that they can see happening? DePaul goes to Watford and the Leeds have got a bit more time to get him from Watford due to this fucking ruling.
I know, I think there's a law, isn't there? I don't know. I think there's a law. You've got to have had your contract signed for so long before another club, before like you could be sold again.
And by the way, if they play for two different clubs, if we sign him a bit of play, so if he's already played for Udinese and then plays for Watford, there's a bit of play for us anyway. So even if it was a possibility, it's unlikely. So I suppose I'll go on.
We could still get Cantwell though, can't we? So I'm happy with our dealings if we don't get Cantwell.
So am I, to be fair. I suppose we'll move on to the final game before we get some predictions from Dan. But Wolves versus Fulham. It finished 1-0 to Wolves. Was it Neto, I think, that scored the goal winner?
Yeah, Neto scored.
A good finish, if I remember rightly. But how did you see the game, lads?
It was dull.
Dull, yeah.
Fulham.
It was dull. Yeah, Fulham actually played really well. Fulham were unlucky in it. They missed an absolute sitter.
They did.
Cabano's shot that Mitrovic passed him to. Mitrovic passed the ball in the box to Cabano, and he had an open goal. All he had to do is put it just not at the keeper. Anywhere, but not one of the worst misses you'll see this year in our league. And he basically kicks it straight at the keeper's hands. It was absolutely horrendous. Fulham definitely deserved something at the game. It was the best I've seen them play. and Wolves were very scrappy, but got the win. But they were very scrappy. Neto looked decent, and again, though, Wolves didn't look like Wolves do. The same as
what's
West
going
Ham.
on with them then?
They looked a bit disjointed. I think it's just taking them a bit of time to get going. I mean, there's been quite a bit of change there. There's been some very good players come into the club, and I just think it takes a bit of time to get going. And if you can win when you're not playing well, is such a key. And they didn't play very well, and they managed to get the win. They managed to get the 3 points, but Fulham will definitely look at that one and think they should have got more out of it.
Like Leicester, I'm a bit worried with Wolves because
I had them to finish fourth.
Sorry,
I had them to finish fourth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I got 7th. I still think they will finish 7th.
I don't think they've spent very well. I mean, Semedo, fantastic signing. Okay, probably the one signing. This Fabio Silva kid, though, most of us will probably agree when you know of him because of Football Manager. I don't think he's ready.
Yeah, but I don't look at... This is the way you've got to look at that deal. Is I don't look at Fabio Silva as an impact signing this season. No one's going to get... We talk about how do you replace a player. And it doesn't take a genius to realise that Jimenez, if he keeps playing the way he plays, Wolves won't be able to keep him forever. So why not go and sign one of the hottest, highly touted young Portuguese stars, get him in your system, get him some game time, get him used to the Premiership, get him used to how you play, and then eventually, in 3 years, let's say Jimenez goes, or 2 years, Jimenez goes, you've got Fabio Silva there ready, he's been around the Premiership, he knows his stuff, he's played some games, he's now, 19, 20, and there's no saying that he don't come on the scene and absolutely blow the league away. And I think actually what Wolves have done there is what teams like Leicester and other teams, Man City, should be doing. They've brought a striker in thinking about the future, not thinking about the now.
Did they not do that with Iheanacho, though, in theory?
Well, there's a lot of question marks around Iheanacho because I think when they signed Iheanacho, he was 23, 24 or 22. He'd been around the scene. He'd not made it at Man City. He'd played some football and he'd not been very good. He weren't a 17-year-old. He'd come through a system. He'd played some minutes and he'd not been very good. He didn't have a good goal-scoring record. And that was the mindset. I think the difference with Fabio Silva is you signed a 17-year-old who you're going to give gradual minutes. If he finishes this season with 7 or 8 goals, with playing 20 games, it's a good season for him. He's a future signing. He's never going to start ahead of Jimenez, is he? Ever going to start ahead of Jimenez?
They're very clever Wolves, aren't they?
I think that's a smart signing.
He's just gone 18. So, yeah, you're right.
There you go. He's just got 18.
I thought he was 19 for some reason, but yeah, you're right. He's 17.
You've got Hoover as well from Liverpool. Good young right back, as well as Semedo coming in. I thought Wolves' business was decent, to be honest with you. I think the only worry will be the transition of Jota not being there, but I think Podence and Neto have looked very good so far.
So,
see, I rate...
Oh, go on, mate, go on.
So I was going to say that I do rate Neto and Podence along with Traore, but I do still think they are missing someone to replace Jota. Because Jota was another one that got the goals alongside Jimenez. If they lose Jimenez, just like if Leicester were to lose Vardy, I don't know where the goals are coming from.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. They would have to start finding goals from elsewhere. I think one of the joys of Wolves is, like you say with Jota, is a lot of players have chipped in with goals, whether it be Adama, Doherty got a few, or the wingers. I think the big question mark is, will Neto and Podence be able to find the back of the net enough to take the pressure off of Jimenez? It's still such early days, but from the way I've watched more Neto, I think Podence plays very well, but more Neto, I think he definitely could take on what Jota did. I think only time will tell. But, I mean, he got a key goal here in this game. If he can continue to contribute that and hit, in a game where Jimenez couldn't get a goal and wasn't effective, they still managed to win because somebody else chipped in. I think that's going to be the key for them. When Jimenez isn't firing, do you have somebody else in there that can do it? It's still a question mark. We don't know if they can do it throughout a season, but I think early signs from watching them play, apart from the West Ham game, obviously they didn't play. God, they were so bad in that game. I'd be interested to see. It's a bit of a transition season because they've made some changes, haven't they? They've made some quite big changes, but I'm quite impressed with their signings. I've got a lot of belief in their method. Seems to work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it has worked. You're right. The one thing I've just noticed now by looking at Fabio Silva's wiki page, and it's going back to what you said about that Man United's youngster. He's got like 1 goal in about 12 appearances at Porto. So I never realised it before because maybe I'll blink by the football managerism, but it's not even a word, probably not. But anyway, we'll stick with it. But basically, it's a gamble, isn't it? Again, it's a big gamble. I mean, just because
it's always a gamble.
Come from Portugal, he's Portuguese. Doesn't mean it's going to work. I know it's basically like going home because it's like the Portuguese national side.
Would you say that Callum Wilson was a gamble for Newcastle?
No.
What they needed.
But what's interesting is you wouldn't say it was a gamble, but he only scored 9 goals last season.
But
and
9 goals,
injured.
Yeah, but that's a gamble, isn't it? But it's proven to score goals, and he's got into the team on
fine,
strength of it.
You would say that on his last season at the club, it's a gamble. You're judging Fabio Silva on 12 games. I bet he didn't start them all, and he did play a lot on the left wing. So you're judging him on 12 games that you don't even know how he played.
I suppose it's similar to Rodrigo, I guess, Will, isn't it?
You don't even know how he played. You don't know what he's going to bring to the system.
It's just if he's been signed as a striker, you see, that's all I'm thinking.
You're judging him on that. Well, he's played him on the left already when he's come on. So you're judging him on stuff that we don't know. We don't know how good he's going to be because he's so young. So we're judging him before he's even given the opportunity. So I think that's the problem. Like we do with Brewster, we know he could do it in the Championship. He's got a proven track record of scoring goals, but we think he's a gamble for Sheffield United. The same with Ollie Watkins, although I think he's a winger. But the same with Ollie Watkins. It's how calculated is the gamble.
Yeah.
And in Wolves' position, you didn't have a clue who Jota was. Jimenez weren't a big star. He couldn't even get in the Benfica team. And now he's looked at one of the best strikers. So these are all gambles. It's just whether the team believes them to be calculated or not. There's loads of players that get signed at the Premiership and you don't have a clue who they are or how good they are. We said it with Rodrigo. We don't know if he's going to be able to bang in goals for us, but we knew what style of football he played. But his track record of goal scoring isn't fantastic. So it's hard to judge someone on that. The fee seems big, but he's obviously looked at as a player who is going to be the next big thing in Portugal. Now, sometimes that works out. Sometimes that doesn't work out. There's the gamble you take. Look at Renato Sanchez. That didn't work out initially. Now he's actually doing very well in France. But that's the risk you take. It is a punt. And I think they will believe that it's a very smart and calculated punt. And him being around their system and the way they play, he'll just be another one who comes through the production line. We've just been blessed to see how well Jota and Jimenez, and you didn't have a clue who Neto was, who Podence was.
No.
Who are these guys? Adama Traore, for me, was shocking. All he was pace. But now we look at him differently. Now he'd get a good value for him. So it's always difficult to judge. So I'm judging it on Wolves' past record and their ability to sign talent that ends up actually being talent. So I have a bit of faith that they're quite smart with the way they sign players. And I think he'll be another good signing in the future.
Yeah, like I say, they've got a good track record, especially since Nuno's been there, haven't they? So, yeah, I suppose there is that. But, like I say, an expensive punt, but it might end up being a bargain. We'll have to wait and see. So I suppose what we could do now, what we do now, Dan, is we get your predictions for the top 6 and the bottom 3. Now, should we do the bottom 3 first? I think we'll do that last time. If you do the bottom 3, I mean, you've got a bit of an advantage here because you've seen most of the deals happen. You've got a well-rounded,
you've got an advantage.
You've got a chance. You've got a chance, yeah, to give your bottom 3, and you've got the full squads now for until January.
So rock bottom, Fulham.
Yeah,
100% Fulham. The players they're signing, it doesn't make any sense. They still haven't got any Premier League players in the defence. Although I know they are making signings tonight. I've heard that Joachim Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if he's going to be any good. Who knows?
He was good in Italy.
I haven't heard nothing about Loftus-Cheek yet.
And Arsenal wanted him.
Oh, did they?
2 seasons ago when Emery was there, Arsenal wanted him.
Oh, okay. So maybe they've got themselves a decent defender there. Who knows? But they've had Anguissa come back. He's looked all right. But I think they've also had Seri come back. And Seri was a decent midfielder at the time.
Forgotten man.
Yeah, he's forgotten.
Linked with Barcelona.
Yeah. Areola's come in from PSG. He's just spent a year at Real Madrid doing nothing. I mean, I watched him in the game. He was okay, but I don't know. They haven't got any strikers. Mitrovic is the only striker they've got that can get goals. If they lose him, they've got nobody else. Kamara's not going to get goals.
Ricardo Overeed, didn't he? Could get an odd one or two, and a bit.
Yeah. Lookman looked promising when he came on at the weekend. That's the only good thing I can probably say about the signings they've made so far.
And who'll be next then?
19th, West Brom.
Yeah,
Yo-yo club.
Everyone said the same.
They do the same thing every time they get promoted. They come up, do really bad, go down, and then they do really good in the Championship, and they go up. They just can't find the balance. And the players they brought in, which we discussed recently, not good enough. Championship players, even if they have got a legend like Ivanovic that they brought in. But hey, he's not going to play much, is he?
No. I forgot he went there. Ivanovic, free transfer, wasn't it? I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And I guess the more crucial one, which is one that's divided a few people, 18th.
This is the difficult one.
Sheffield United.
First time that one's been mentioned.
The reason why, you look at the stats for 2019. Billy Sharp, 3 goals. McBurney, 6 goals. McGoldrick, 2 goals. Mousset, 6 goals. That's not enough to keep
Brewster,
you up.
isn't there? That's it. They're putting a lot on Brewster.
And Brewster, I'm probably the only one that's not on this wagon thinking, oh, he's amazing, he's going to save us. Yeah, he's a good youngster. Okay, he went to the Swansea in the Championship and got 11 goals. Well done. This is the Premier League. I just don't see it. I don't see him doing it.
Not being
So I don't think they're going to stay up. I think they're going to really struggle. And the other signings they've made, they brought Ramsdale. He didn't have the greatest of times at Bournemouth, but he's not a Henderson. Henderson really, he made his name. And then they brought in 2 decent youngsters from Derby for a right back and left back in Lowe and Bogle as competition for Stevens and Baldock. Sure, they're good for Derby, but I don't know if they're going to be good enough for Sheffield United or if they're even going to get in that team. And then, of course, they've got another decent youngster from us, Apandu. I just don't know. And they've got Burke, who's playing as a striker as well at the moment. He couldn't make the West Brom team and he went out on loan somewhere. So I really worry about Sheffield United's team. I really do worry about them this year.
It's because of solid reasoning. What are you going to say there, Matt?
On Oliver Burke, he's an interesting one because obviously we watched him against us, but from seeing him, he's dangerous at getting in dangerous positions. He's very quick. Maybe they don't have enough this season to do it again, but I don't know. They always seem to manage to get wins last year without scoring tons of goals.
It's just, I think one of the defenders is out for pretty much the season. It depends how crucial he is to that unit for me. And if, let's say, Ampadu can fill that role, or Jack Robinson, because he joined as well, didn't he? But
We do have him, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, Ampadu, we don't know. Jack Robinson, I don't think he's a Premier League standard player, personally. But, yeah, you've got some solid reason
wasn't good
there.
enough against us.
No.
He couldn't mark Bamford.
Bamford were too much, wasn't he?
Struggled with that.
But it might be better against other types of strikers, like shorter strikers that are not going to be as physical. But we'll have to wait and see. But solid reasoning. So I suppose we can move now on to your top 6. So we start at the top, don't we? I think. Yeah, so start at the top. Okay. Who's going to win the league then?
Liverpool.
Yeah, I think
they've got enough in the tank to win it. I mean, they've made 2 decent signings in Jota and Thiago. And I think if at Villa they had their full squad available to them, it's a different result.
Great. So you want to say Everton?
No, I think Liverpool got enough in them to win the league again because my second pick in second place is Man City. I don't think they got enough to topple Liverpool. They've strengthened, Torres? Okay, promising youngster. They've strengthened in defence. That helped them. But overall, I don't think they got enough. And they signed Aki, who I really wanted back at Chelsea.
Right.
I was a big fan of Aki. But I don't think they got enough to win the league.
I think obviously last season the defence was the main issue, and obviously if Diaz and Laporte could create some sort of, partnership.
Yeah.
There's every chance that they can do it, but I think for me, like I say, Liverpool, it's a big gap of 22 points or something they have to make up.
Yeah.
And that's where it's key. It depends. Like Matt says though, you said earlier that you think that this is going to be the season where they're going to drop quite a few points compared to recent seasons. So there's any chance, yeah. But I think a lot of teams you wouldn't expect might do,
This is such a weird season that so many teams have strengthened around them.
Mm.
So many teams have strengthened.
So, but yeah. So second place for Man City. Who would be third?
Chelsea.
I knew you were going to say that. I think a lot of people said that, haven't they?
I was back and forth whether they were going to be fourth or third, but I think once we find our feet, once the players get settled, that they get fully fit, I think we will go on a run. I think we will get some good results. They just need time just to find their feet, just to get things going.
You don't have any worries defensively then, no? You think Thiago's going to steady the ship?
Steady the ship? I don't know. I think he'll be okay. I mean, I'm still adjusting to the fact that we've signed a 36-year-old Brazilian centre-back, Thiago Silva. But I liked what I've seen of Zuma lately. I'm glad Tomori has stayed. Well, I'm hoping he stayed.
I saw a rumour that we're on about going out on loan somewhere. I can't remember where, though.
Yeah, because I don't know if Rudiger's gone yet. I don't know what's going on there, really.
Rudiger's not gone.
Yeah, so I like Zuma. I like Christensen. Yeah, sure, defensively we're worrying. Reece James is great. I love what I've seen of Reece James so far. And Chilwell, I can't wait to see more performances like what he did on Saturday. So I think third position at least.
And then fourth?
Fourth, Tottenham.
Yeah, I can see him getting back in. It's tough. Like it said, it's quite. We said previously, there's so many teams that you can look at and think they've got a shout fourth.
They do.
And that's
yeah, outside the top three, there are so many teams in that running after the top three.
Spurs, Arsenal, Everton, Wolves at one point. There's loads. Sorry.
Yeah, because Mourinho's done some good business. I mean, getting Bale back as well. When he gets playing, I can't wait to see how him, Son, and Kane work together. I think that's going to be a scary attack coming at you.
Not half.
The squad overall was really good. I was worried when he didn't replace Vertonghen, but since Dyer's gone into defence, he's actually not been too bad, I think.
He's been impressive.
I mean, that handball against Newcastle was harsh, but we won't get into that.
We had a fight last week.
He's been all right. He's actually been all right since he's gone into defence. So,
Mourinho did brilliantly at Spurs when he first took over. I think his downfall was losing Son and Kane. As soon as Spurs lost Son and Kane, it kind of dropped off.
Yeah.
And so I think in Mourinho's mind, it's if I lose these players, if I get down to bare bones again, I need players to come in and players that can make a difference. And you would say that if you had Bale as one of those players, he is usually in his past life someone who will create that moment and get you that goal or get you that win when you need it. And as soon as Kane went, their season took a drastic dip. If Kane and Son hadn't got injured, I think they might have got fourth.
He's done some very good business. The only bit that I'm concerned about, but I will give it time just to see how he does, is the backup striker, Carlos Vinicius.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, on loan from Benfica, isn't he?
I don't know much about him, and Spurs and a second striker just never works. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I think he's the right kind of second striker to buy. Because they've got a future fee on it, I think, if they want.
Yeah, I think
he's young, so you've not got someone who's going to be absolutely braying on the door. And, I mean, Mourinho's business, usually when he buys people from Portugal or brings people in from Portugal, tends to be fairly decent track record-wise. So,
Lucas
interesting
Moura,
to see.
Yeah, Lucas Moura will be the first person to help him settle in, fellow Brazilian.
We've got Gedson Fernandes, who was his teammate there as well.
Oh, yeah, they've got him as well. Forgot about Gedson. They've got quite a good team. I like what I've seen so far, what they've done. So I think fourth place for Tottenham.
Fair enough. And then I suppose the European spots, 5th and 6th. 5th.
Arsenal.
No,
I
we
like
can't see
the
him.
project that Arteta is building. I hope it continues. I want to see more of Pepe because that's a 70 million player sitting on your bench. Okay, he's brought in Willian, who, in his first game did brilliantly. 3 assists, I think he got in his debut. But I want to see how Willian, Pepe, Aubameyang do. Because Lacazette, in my mind, he should have gone. He's past it now. Sure, he has his odd moments where he's a decent striker, but overall, I don't think he's good enough anymore. But I do like what he's trying to do. And if they manage to pull off this signing today, Partey, I think that could be the missing puzzle in their midfield because he is a brilliant holding player. He is a brilliant... I don't want to throw a name on him and compare him to somebody else.
Makalele.
No. I don't want to do that because I hate it when people come out with this, we've got the so-and-so Messi over here and so on, whatever. But I think Partey could be the missing piece for Arsenal, and I think if they can get him, which I've not heard no news about, actually.
It doesn't appear that they've got him. We've just found out that Jack Wilshere's been let go on a mutual release from West Ham.
Right. Yeah, that were at the beginning of the show, that.
But there's
coming
no news of that. Yeah, we're in the last 4 minutes. You're right, though. That kind of player is probably all they're missing in that midfield because they've got a pretty decent midfield now. So he's probably all they're missing.
What's amazed me that El Nini's come back from his loan and somehow he's a regular. I'm not sure about him. Squad player, yes, but as a regular, I don't know.
He was great out on loan.
And
Ceballos was... Them getting Ceballos back was so key.
That was brilliant, yes. Getting him back was, as you said, key. So that is my 5th.
And then your 6th?
This is where it comes down to 4 teams.
Yeah, we've had the same problem.
I can't decide. I really cannot decide. So obviously,
I'll help you. It begins with L.
Ends in S.
Got a couple of E's and a D in there.
And it's based in West Yorkshire.
So basically, my 4, and I can't decide, is Man United, Everton, Leicester, Wolves.
Right.
Unfortunately, Dan, you're going to have to decide, mate.
Yeah.
If I had to
Yeah, you're going to have to try and pick the one that you think most likely you think it stands that chance.
If I had to decide on the current form, it's Everton. Man United just worry me. Someone that's gone missing for quite a while now in my mind is Rashford. You don't see enough of him. Van Der Beek, when's he going to get his chance? He didn't need Van Der Beek, but okay, they've gone and signed him, fair enough. Cavani is going to be very interesting, but I like what I see at Everton. Godfrey was a good defender as well, so that's another good English player that they've gone and brought in. So I think Everton will have a good season and get 6th.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think that's a good shout. A good shout indeed.
You might have actually played it fairly on the fence. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But yeah, you probably you're probably closer to the top 6 than what we picked.
Yeah. I can't remember what I put now, but
remember Wolves at 4th, G.
Apart from that, that's nailed on, telling you. Right, so I think that brings us to the end. I'd like to just add in something here. Is there any feedback you could give us on ways we can improve how we're doing this? Whether we think it's too long, whether we think we should focus on like certain teams more than ones like the bigger games and mix it up a little bit. Let us know in the comments below if you can. And otherwise, let us know your thoughts on the subjects we've already discussed tonight. And obviously, don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course, comment as I've mentioned, and check out the socials which will be on the screen now. Finally, thank you very much for Dan for coming and joining us tonight. I hope you've had a smashing time.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. I've enjoyed myself.
That's what we like to hear. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. But otherwise, I've been Tenacious G. We obviously had on Yorkie Man and the Dazman as well. Join us with Dan. And yeah, until next time, we'll see you then. Bye bye.